PSGL is brought to you by Sim Racing Setups. Get your pro setups, unlock extra performance with the Pro F1 25 car setups created by the drivers in PSGL. Esports and stable setups for every track, quali, race and wet setups, optimal race strategies, free meta setup updates, as well as created by drivers racing in PSGL, pro support and compatible with Xbox, PlayStation and PC. All setups just $49.99. Get them from simracingsetup.com and use code PSGL for a 5% discount. See you on track. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, TK, who is going to be rounding off the season with me.
Down the inside,
Absolutely impossible scene.
This is for the win between these two.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He needs to get it done now.
Blakey will dive to the inside.
We'll go bust. We got our elbows out.
Ronar takes the lead.
Because here comes Alfie Butcher.
Can't really complain with that one.
It's not going to be easy. The pressure is on, of course.
Jarno Opmeer is your champion. Well, with just 2 rounds to go, including this one, of course, we are back again for more PSGL PCF1 action. And with this penultimate round, a champion could yet be crowned. Jarno Opmeer 6 points away. He needs to score 6 more points ahead of his teammate Freddie Rasmussen to take a record-breaking 8th championship title in PSGL. It would make him cement his legacy as the greatest driver in league racing history, should he be able to muster that. And he has a great chance, doesn't he, folks? The form has been outstanding from both Red Bull drivers. They've got such a strong partnership, leading through to yet another F1 Sim Racing World Championship run. But will he do it tonight? That's the big question mark. We head to Las Vegas. George Morgan here, your commentator, and back with us as well, returning to PCF1 screens. No TK, because he's away poorly at the moment with illness. We welcome back Nathan Richards. Nathan, welcome to the show.
Indeed. Hello, George. Hello, everybody in the chat. Great to be back here in PCF1, and I'm kind of glad that we're heading to this track for my return, because Las Vegas is a track that tends to invite chaos in many different forms, in qualifying and both in the race. So I'm sure tonight we're in for quite a hectic Grand Prix, which of course could lead to a championship being decided.
Well, much like McLaren have put the work in to become more aerodynamically friendly, you've also done the same with your hair, Nathan, and become a little bit more streamlined ahead of our visit to Vegas here this evening. So we do welcome you. Welcome back. Obviously, this is where we're going tonight, folks. We are heading to the Las Vegas Strip, and we are set for a furious race around 3.853 kilometers or miles of pure speed. That translates to 6.201 kilometers. 17 turns in total as we race around the upside down big. And season 36 winner was, of course, Shanaka Clay. Pole for Danny Berejny on that occasion. But the season later, it was Alfie Butcher who comes here off the back of achieving a massive podium visit for McLaren last time out at Mexico. He was a winner from pole last time out when we came and raced here in season 38. So we'll see whether he can achieve the same again as we venture around this circuit for the 3rd time. It's a furiously fast circuit, isn't it, Nathan?
Yes, it certainly is, and I think because of the amount of straights that are on this track, it means the lap times are quite close together, because there's not actually that many corners which you're trying to find and lose lots of time. A lot of it is mainly down those back straights. So I think setups are a key thing around here. Of course, having the perfect setup to balance that straight line speed and also that cornering speed. And I genuinely think that tonight, Q1, Q2 could certainly be very, very close. I mean, most tracks we get an upset or two. I think around here, there's a chance we're going to have an upset in all 3 qualifying sessions, I think.
Yeah. Well, we're making our way around the Nevada desert, but Tom Manley out on his outlap. And for those of you who might be curious at home as to why we're running the multiplayer car at the moment, we have, of course, been running it during qualifying. Qualifying only, though, folks. We move back into the real-life cars when we head into the race. And that was down to mere concerns that perhaps the cars haven't been altogether equal, because naturally the build of the cars don't necessarily constitute to a fully equal experience. That's what the drivers believe. It's the sheer ergonomics of the machinery. And that is why the drivers feel it's necessary, especially in qualifying, to ensure they're running on equal performance throughout, that they embrace the multiplayer car for this circumstance, which is understandable. But then, of course, we run into race trim later on. We will be back into the real life car, so do not fret. And obviously they have to ensure that they know who they're pitting with, basically, when we move into the pit stop phases of the race. You just see there Tom Manley spinning up those intermediate tyres. Once again, they're back on the cars once again, but obviously will not be setting in a proper lap time on that compound. Comes back into the pit lane. We also welcome back Angelo D'Ortenzio. Now, you might know a little bit more about him, Nathan. Obviously a PCF2 champion, but has really been setting the world alight in terms of qualifying. Every single session he's been involved in PCF1 so far. He's achieved a Q3 visit, and not to mention a big points finish last time. I believe it was fifth place last time out at Mexico.
Yeah, I think Angelo is one of those drivers that the sort of conversations we were having about Otis Lawrence and Alfie Butcher in the past, where they're not actually eligible to race in the F1 Sim Racing World Championship, but from what we've seen, there's definitely that skill and that talent enough there. And I think Angelo definitely harmed by the fact that he won't be old enough to drive in the main championship. I mean, he's settled in so comfortably. I mean, I didn't have many doubts, but I didn't think he'd go into the championship and be this quick. So it's been brilliant so far for Angelo, and I think it's great for his confidence going in and not being put right at the back of Q1, where normally you would expect to see newer drivers go. But he's came in, gone to Q3, taken some points away. So that's really going to help him in the future. Of course, going into the next season as well, he's going to be a lot more comfortable, and you know, he fits in very, very well indeed. So I'm glad to see Angelo on the grid. Yeah,
obviously the big result last time, taking 5th place, bringing home 6 points to his championship charge. I think he has been truly a breath of fresh air to the grid, in my honest opinion, and obviously is aligned with the Ferrari team anyway as a junior driver. We all thought that perhaps after Otis Lawrence stepped up and moved himself into the limelight as a now current F1 sim racing driver, that would be the last that we really see of the young drivers making their way through into the top flight. But we couldn't be more wrong. I think with Angelo D'Ortenzio proving that he can race with the best of them, there's hope there for young drivers now moving up through the realms of the PSGL F6, F5 or F4. Like, we've seen drivers come up through those ranks, have really grinded their way to make it to a point where they are competing for, say, example, PSGL PCF2. I mean, bear in mind, PSGL PCF2, you could compare it by and large with what we had with PCF1 back in season 27. You know, it's just that evolution that has come out. But yeah, it's just the progression that we have seen from some of these drivers has been truly remarkable, and great to have, of course, Angelo part of the grid. I hold no qualms in believing that one day I think we will see him enter the F1 sim racing space good and proper, because surely he's putting himself on the market. Appreciate he's underage, being 15 and all that, but as soon as he turns 16, my goodness, he's going to be one almighty prospect for any team that are looking to sign a new driver. So Ferrari are going to certainly do a good job trying to keep hold of him, I would say.
Yes, indeed. I think it does help when you see drivers like Angelo move their way up, because there's so many drivers that are of his talent that, you know, in the future definitely deserve a chance in PCF1, and every team will be looking at Angelo, of course, once those lineups for the future years open up. But of course, we've got around 2 or 3 minutes to go before we see our cars head out onto track with the actual proper soft tyres, not the intermediates. And then, of course, we can kind of sort to see what pace the drivers are setting. But like I said earlier on, I think qualifying will be very close here. So getting a good banker lap in should be quite vital for every driver here on this grid, even if you know you're a driver that normally can comfortably move your way out of Q1 easily.
Well, whilst we are in a bit of a down period at the moment, Nathan, it's probably a good time for us to get some questions in from the chat. And I can already see Archie Bryden asking a really good question, saying, George, were you involved in the conversations after the disappointing driving standards recently? I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, Archie. I did make a point in the live chat, in the Discord chats, where all the drivers were we're obviously chatting, post-race, especially after Australia. We were really, I think, disappointed unilaterally. And I, not just me, but also TK as well. In many ways, we were sort of reviewing things after the race, and we could not quite comprehend how poor things got, I think, at the end of play. And And I think ultimately there's quite a few drivers there with egg on their face. Obviously, you won't see Otis Lawrence competing here this evening, nor will you see at the same time Ulas Azildrim, because both drivers, by mere consequence of their actions back at Australia, receiving 2 race bans. So they will not be taking part in tonight, much like they weren't taking part back in Mexico. So yeah, I was disappointed, very disappointed. And I think we're better than that as well. And obviously I appreciate that the game doesn't allow, necessarily easy methods of overtaking. We've seen Kevin Balshash's brilliant, or Balash, I think I probably butchered his name, but a phenomenal mod that he has put together, which has kind of counteracted a lot of the negative traits that the game has brought together. And I know that many other drivers have tested that, especially Danny Berejnay. And I think it's been met by a lot of positivity. They're just absolutely devastated that it's got to this point with the game that they're unable to flex their talented muscles where it comes to racing on a grid like this. And we should get great racing with a grid like this.
Certainly. I think the thing for me that stands out is the fact that we have people making mods to make the game more competitive and actually raceable, which I think is a bit of a disappointment. But hopefully, it could be a bit of a sign to EA once again to say, we need a little bit more effort in terms of that actual racing side, so we can get some more entertainment and so we can see our drivers really enjoy, for many of them, their job, which of course, you'd be very luxurious to have, but at times it must be very frustrating with the current Formula 1 games. But finally, George, we have cars out on track. The first car out will be Xander Van Dyken, of course, a driver that's been around a very long time, hasn't made that many appearances here in PSGL1, so very excited to see what he can produce this evening. Yes,
back on a PSGL grid. Great to have Xander Van Dyken with us. Obviously was a DNF back at Suzuka, but looking to bounce back here this time, and we'll look forward to seeing how he gets on. Obviously, Danny Berejnay not taking any further part in qualifying here this evening. Neither is Josh Edo, so that's both Alpines cancelled out even before we venture into race trim. And obviously, we will alert to that as we make our way through tonight. We'll go through the full lineups for this evening with some of the drivers stepping in for others when we look at the graphics in between the 2 lobbies, because as we've already said, we are going to get a lobby restart going into the race. But Xander Van Dyken getting the tyres warmed up. We have seen it as an often trend that drivers will go for 2 warm-up runs. Obviously, on 2 levels, of course, you want to make sure that you've got optimal tyre levels, but also there's that matter of fuel as well, Nathan, which the drivers are very keen to address.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, around this track, fuels, for these drivers, it's not much of a task. They know what they're doing before they go out, but of course it's something that you have to look into, and on some occasions, if you're not that confident, you might sacrifice that first lap just to have a bit more fuel to go again, just in case you make a mistake. So it's all about balancing, your confidence and skill around a track, because even though this track has got a lot of straights and a lot of areas where you can't really gain or lose time, it is a difficult one, especially heading in towards turn 1 or at the end of sector 1 into that slow speed chicane, and then of course turn 11, I believe it is, into that left-hander before the Las Vegas strip, which is very easy to sometimes lock up, hop over the curb and hit the barrier, or even in some cases go straight on. So it is a difficult track to get right. So if we see some brilliant laps, I think we will, but I think there's got to be some laps here and there which are going to be astronomical, which nobody can beat, just because of that pure precision, which not many people can match.
Yeah, we'll hold the phone, because Joni Tormler has gone purple in the first sector out of the grid that we've already seen, but obviously you can't hold any of this necessarily to task right now, folks. Still very early days as Xander Van Dyken hops over the curb and heads down the back straight. He's already invalidated this particular lap, so this will not be a fast one here for him. Philip Prejnader on his return to the grid as well, looking to make his way down this next straight, and through the boulevard he will go before reaching the chicane at the end of this one. This is, of course, the last chicane on this circuit layout before you then head down towards the home straight. And 6 minutes and 41 to go. As Prejnader, former Ferrari F1 sim racing driver, who was thrown right into the limelight after being certainly one of our more keen protagonists at the top end of the fold, challenging for race wins. Just goes fastest now with a 129.7. Joni Tormler, though, the evergreen racer, back again and goes first fastest now ahead of Tom Manley. So RB still with plenty of other drivers entering the fold. Purple inside the first sector as well for Ruben Pedreño as Julian Klaffenbach steals P1. Joris Krozen goes fastest here this time too. And also we'll see others crossing the line as well. But Pedreño has just invalidated. Really poor visit after going purple initially. Well, that's just been ripped away. And quite interesting to see that we've had invalidations here at Vegas, because whilst there is a wide spread, I mean, you're absolutely right, Nathan. You've got to be careful of those barriers. The track looks wide, but ultimately, with so much runoff and when you carry so much speed, those walls come at you pretty quickly.
They certainly do, and of course that's where you have to kind of go and take that risk. Every corner you go into, you need to push that risk as much as you can. As Thomas Ronhaar goes quickest, the first 29.4 of the evening, as Jana Watmir slots into P8. And R8G looking very quick at the moment with a P1, 2, 4 and 5, currently that being the Haas and Kick team combined. And then of course Ismail Fassi popping into P3 at the moment, as well as Ruben Pedreño, not with a lap, neither is Ist Van Persie, and then of course Xander Van Dijken. So they're either going to go back into the pits and get a new set of tyres, or possibly go once again if they have the fuel. Yeah,
obviously those that invalidated not going quicker again on this lap. Their deltas are certainly significantly down, around about 2 to 3 seconds in each individual sector, so do not expect faster times from Xander Van Dijken, Ist Van Persie or Ruben Pedreño in this first stint. They will come into the box for a rethink and then head straight back out. But it's Thomas Ronhaar who goes quickest initially with a 1:29.469. Went obviously last time out fastest in Mexico. It was his second pole position of the season after managing to net together a brilliant Brazil pole, which did not lead to a great result, unfortunately. And that pole at Brazil actually coming off the back of our first run at Brazil back at the very start of the season, where he went off at turn 1 and into the barrier after screen freezes. So even technical glitches can plague the very best of them, Nathan.
Yeah, certainly. And I think, you know, having that pole position, of course, last time around, and that win is the confidence that Thomas needs. We all know he's probably one of the best on the grid on raw pace. He's definitely up in that top 3, top 5 debate, but his results haven't quite been there over the course of the season. And of course, taking that win last time out, of course with only 2 rounds to go, will give him some more confidence to push further and possibly go for more podiums and wins to round off the season. So of course it'll be great to see what Thomas can produce over the next couple of sessions. Of course, saying that he'll go through to Q2, he's definitely going to now anyway because of all the cars retiring. But we have one set of runs left for everybody on track, well, to go back out on track over a 3-minute period. Of course, a bit of a surprise to see Lucas Blakely and Duncan Hoffland so far down. I'd expect to see those guys a little bit higher. And then once again, a brilliant performance to open up the session from Angelo D'Ortenzio, just behind Jana Watmir, and slots into 9th place. So Angelo, probably going to see yourself into another Q2 session.
Yeah, no doubt. Obviously, we're now seeing the top 7 retire from qualifying, obviously feeling very comfortable with their positioning inside the timing screen. Jana Watmir just being wheeled into the garage. We've already got movement inside the pit lane, as well as we now see Xander Van Dijken leaving the pits and making his way back out onto the track with 2 minutes and 45 to go, perhaps carrying just a little bit too much fuel than he would have liked, so he's going to look to burn that off perhaps over another outlap and then look to bring it home in the final minutes. We'll wait and see. Obviously 1:29.469 is a general benchmark that we're seeing here from Thomas Ronhaar, so we'll see what he decides to do here, Xander Van Dijken. I imagine, to be honest with you, it's only likely going to be the one run. We've got Duncan Hoffland out on track. Lucas Blakely looking for a better performance this time, has actually not even ventured into the points so far this season, is down as a regular driver this campaign for Mercedes. Obviously, we don't know where his allegiances are moving through to the new season of F1 sim racing. Still massive question marks across the grid heading into a brand new season. The only likely candidates that we can think of renewing are obviously the Red Bull team, the Ferrari team. I'd imagine also the Kick Sauber team are likely to stick with Thomas Ronhaar and, you know, maybe throw a bone to Julian Klaffenbach as well to join the grid, because these two seem to be working quite well together. But we'll have to wait and see where Blakely goes, because, I mean, at the end of the day, he is a former world champion.
Certainly, and I think it'd be a great shame to lose Lucas Blakely on the grid. I think the efforts he's done, you know, outside of the sim racing world and moving into GB4, I think has shown that sim racing can be a big path forward into real world racing. I mean, he moved into GB4 and has done a brilliant job. He's dominated a few races in that championship, so it would certainly be a big shame to lose Lucas Blakely, but I'm sure there's definitely, you know, contract negotiations, you know, signings on the cards here for Lucas over the next couple of months, as he will be just heading through the final corner to set a lap time here to hopefully make his way through into Q2. A 29.8, he needs to find, I'd say, get a low 0.6 around where Joni Tormula is. He should be safe, but of course he's got to get that lap hooked up. Yeah, just finishing his out lap now. We've got Xander van Dijken, who we're currently riding on board with right now, and looking to bring this one ultimately home. Renewed lap this time as he heads down in towards the next right. As he ventures through turn 5, he'll then enter in towards sector 2, just kisses the wall on the left-hand side. No, a poor visit there from Xander van Dijken, but a 25 registered nonetheless inside that first sector. It's around a 25.9, probably around the same benchmark as what we saw from Blakely, incidentally, inside sector 1. But we'll wait and see. Obviously, it's not showing up on our telemetry screen just yet, but Van Dijken looking to usher in a lap that will secure him safety. 2 spots have obviously been confirmed eliminated. That is Berejné and Ido. Oh my goodness me, Van Dijken getting that oh so wrong, and that will surely put a potential stopper in this lap. Yeah, it certainly could do. That's lost him a lot of time heading through out of turn 12 because he hit the wall so harshly. That could also be an invalidation for hitting the wall. We've seen that happen many times here in qualifying, but of course he'll be looking to try and get something on the board at least to make his way out of Q1 as he goes deep in towards the chicane and invalidates anyway. So no Q2 appearance for him. Yeah. That's well and truly Xander van Dijken out of the session. Ruben Pedreño has gone purple, though, inside the first sector. Jarno Opmeer also looking to finish strong as well as we await the times to come on through. Blakely moves up into 8th fastest. Will indeed make his way through. Philip Prejnader on the bubble of 14th. Tom Manley into 11th as well. Barry Burman funnels his way up to 4th. Pedreño pinches 4th place away from him too. Here comes Freddie Rasmussen at the same time. Plenty of other drivers are going to enter themselves into the fold. Here comes the championship leader, Jarno Opmeer, chasing an 8th PSGL title. He has managed to already nestle in 6 PCF1 crowns, looking for a 7th and go 2nd fastest here for now, just behind Thomas Ronhaar. The 2 Dutch dynamos sitting in Ps 1 and 2 as Freddie Rasmussen of Red Bull now notches himself into 4th. Remember, he is looking to take the championship conquest all the way to the final round at Yas Marina at Abu Dhabi. But ultimately, the cards are stacked in Jarno Opmeer's favour, but it's Thomas Ronhaar quickest at the close of Q1, ahead of Jarno Opmeer by 64 thousandths of a second. 68 thousandths if you include Joris Krozen, an impressive qualifying on Krozen's part. It's Ronhaar, Opmeer and Krozen your top 3. Rasmussen in 4th, Ismail Fassi in 5th. Then comes Ruben Pedreño, Barry Burman, Angelo D'Ortenzio, another impressive performance out of Julian Klaffenbach, Tamas Gal, Alfie Butcher down in 11th with Joni Tormula 12th, Lucas Blakely 13th will move through to Q2. Tom Manley, then Istvan Pukki. They move their way into Q2. Philip Prejnader, Duncan Hoffland, Xander van Dijken, Danny Berejné, and Josh Ido out of the session. So there we go, folks. Those are the times that have been ferried in. Thomas Ronhaar back on top, looking to go back-to-back with pole positions and make it 3 as well. But altogether, we've got to remember it's only Q1. A lot can change moving into Q2, Nathan. Yeah, it certainly can, and we see it happen all the time. Drivers that do really good in Q1 and Q2 tend to fall off in that final qualifying session, but I think it could be a good sign here for Thomas, of course, considering that was his banker lap. It was quickest all session, and of course nobody could beat that in the end. Brilliant lap from him to go quickest in Q1, and heading into Q2, definitely going to give him some confidence, heading into this session and hopefully trying to take the top 10 again. But we do have a couple of cars going out for their next laps, and of course this is a point, George, where we don't always know whether they're on new tyres or old tyres. We kind of figure that out once they've set their laps. Yeah, no, it's going to be certainly interesting to see who comes out on top in all this. Obviously, we talk about the competitive nature that is shared between Jarno Opmeer and obviously Thomas Ronhaar. We have seen fantastic battles between those two, but it's even more mouthwatering when you've got the two of them on the pace, especially out of Q1. Moving through to Q2, obviously I think the drama we all want is obviously to see Ronhaar and Opmeer on the front row with Rasmussen
on the second row just in behind. I think that would be almost perfect for the viewers at home.
Yeah, certainly, because there's always going to be some sort of great chaos at turn one or something happening that can disrupt that championship. Of course, Ron Hart's not in it, but he'll battle like he is. Why not? I would if I was in the same situation. But of course, this is a big race as well for Freddie Rasmussen. Of course, I think Jan Otme needs to outscore him by 6 points and he can take the title. Of course, in PSGL, that's not too easy because of our closer point system compared to real life Formula One. So if Freddie can keep within a position or two of Jan Otme, he could be on still for that championship final charge in the final race next time out. So big race here for Freddie. And of course, he's got to be careful not to hit anyone down towards turn 16 because they are all getting quite frighteningly close together here.
They certainly are. For the first laps now of Q2 are now going to be ushered in. First and foremost, though, Ruben Pedreño, who now makes his way across the line and then down through and towards turn 1 in the red and yellow livery. Of course, though, bear in mind, he will be in a Williams for tonight's festivities. And now cruising through the first sector and down through now towards turn 5, the last corner in the first sector, before he then enters into sector 2 proper. Other drivers also crossing the line. It's quite a busy track so far at the start of Q2. Pretty much all the drivers are going to register their first laps in. The only ones who are missing at the moment, Tom Manley, Joris Krozen and Joni Tormelu, who have opted to remain in the pits for this first stint. This might just be Shirley looking forward, well, just looking to save a set of tyres for later on in qualifying, but we'll wait and see. Still 12 minutes and 15 to go. Pedreño looking to usher in a decent start to this lap, but I can tell you that the fastest first sector has gone to Angelo D'Ortenzio. So the Italian looking to go further. It's purple inside the middle sector. No surprise for Ruben Pedreño, because of course he is the first driver to enter that sector. Tamas Gal has very quickly ripped that away from him with a 29.227. We'll wait and see where Pedreño stacks come the end of this particular lap. But he looks cool and calm so far. Was actually fastest in the first sector on the last qualifying session as well for a brief stint towards the end. Obviously did suffer that invalidation in that first lap that he tried to post as well. Here comes Pedreño. Goes fastest with a 1:30.035. We'll await Angelo D'Ortenzio, who's going to look to set the world on fire again this time. Pedreño with Gal in second place, not quite able to muster the P1 and rip it away from the Spaniard. Angelo D'Ortenzio, third fastest, despite going purple in the first sector, cannot achieve purple in the middle. He got purple in the final sector as Jarno Otmir dances to the top once more.
Indeed, and we can see once again everyone pretty much on an old set of tyres. We're around 5 or 6 tenths off the pace of what we saw at the end of Q1, but still a nice lap there for Jarno Otmir to open things up for his Q2 session. Joris Krozen is on an out lap, going very slow down towards turn 16, a little bit out of sync compared to everybody else, so we'll see what he can do on his latest lap. Of course, Joris, a very quick driver we're seeing qualifying, very good in that Q1 session, and would love to make his way through into Q3, a driver that definitely deserves that opportunity.
What I find bizarre here, Nathan, is that the track is 15 degrees in temperature. That is extremely low for a Q2 session. I would generally expect us to be working our way up to the late 20s at the very least. I mean, obviously this is an indicator that perhaps these laps are definitely not going to be obviously registered necessarily as, you know, our official lap. I mean, they won't be anyway, but I mean, at the end of the day, we would expect to see track temperature sitting around 30 degrees. Sometimes we even see 40 degrees from time to time.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's something that the drivers would normally expect as well. They'd expect those, you know, higher track temperatures. So if that's not something they're experienced, this could be a little bit of a struggle for our drivers. I don't think it's much of a life changer in this session, but it always adds that extra elements of, you know, focus that you need to have putting into your lap. So we just have everybody now heading back into the pits, the final two being Tamas Gal and Jarno Otmir. Then, of course, they'll all get themselves set up for their next flying lap in Q2. They'll have 2 laps in this session to go, I presume both on a brand new set of tyres. Could be the reason why we didn't see Joni Tormelu go out, because he wanted to save that set of tyres. He's now heading his way down towards turn 5, of course. Tormelu, a driver that's been here for a very, very long time. As you call him, George, the godfather of F1 sim racing. Once again in Q2, would love to see him head his way into Q3 and take some much needed points for his team.
Yep. Well, I mean, he's had a long journey through the realms of F1 sim racing, no longer part of the the Alpine team. So he took part in the F1 Sim Racing World Championship last season with them after a huge stretch with the Red Bull squadron. Of course, taking part for Red Bull, but also for the RB team. Of course, prior to that, it was known as Toro Rosso, and then later became AlphaTauri, and now known as RB this time, with Joni Tormler no longer part of their drive going forward either. But though he is representing RB here in this scenario anyway, and we'll wait and see what Tormler can muster. Obviously, still chasing a drive for next season. I would not write Tormler off either, because he is just such an experienced individual in this kind of racing. Has been obviously around since the walls are pretty much put up from 2017 onwards, so I definitely wouldn't count out Tormler for a future drive going forward. Let's wait and see. Obviously, like we said, Mercedes definitely looking for a new roster with the loss of Jake Benham and Danny Berejne, as now we watch as Tormler flies through towards turn one. We'll look to muster in a big time here to join the likes of the top four that include Jarno Opmeer, Ruben Pedreño, Tomasz Gal, Angelo D'Ortenzio. The current gaps are currently relatively minute, especially between Pedreño and Opmeer. In fact, you could pretty much cover a lot of them by a blanket inside the about a tenth and a half anyway. So now we watch Tormler fly through the first sector. I can already tell you that Tom Manley has gone purple inside the first sector. It was a 25.870 from Tormler, but it was a 25.836 from Tom Manley. So the RB team looking really strong.
Yeah, definitely. And I think sometimes you might think, oh, it's only half a tenth in one set, so that means nothing at all. But over a lap, that can, you know, muster up to a tenth and a half, which is quite a big gap in F1 sim racing, and sometimes can, you know, that can be the gap from P1 to P12 or 13. So you can't be losing that much time in one sector, and of course, as the sectors go on, you're probably going to be losing time there as well. So Tormler definitely going to have to find something over this second and third sector, or on his next lap, which he'll begin after this one. Of course, he'll go back into the pits, go back out again, and then have one more run. So we'll see what Joni Tormler can put up onto the board as Jarno Opmeer starts his next lap in the session. Tormler up to the line. It's a 29.549, a nice banker for Tormler.
Yeah, not the fastest that we've seen. Alfie Butcher has gone quickest inside the middle sector, the pole sitter from last season, and went on to win this race last season as well. Of course, when I say last season, I'm talking season 38. Barry Burman, the rapidly fast Iranian, 129.481. Here comes the Butcher, carving knife laid down upon Burman, and with a 129.412 goes fastest by 69 thousandths of a second. We now see two purples coming from Thomas Ronhaar as well. The pace starting to ignite here at Vegas with a roll of the dice. Ronhaar looking to amass back-to-back fastest laps in sequential qualifying visits. Q1 was fastest. He was fastest last time out at Mexico at the close of play. Fassi goes second fastest now as well. So it's now 69 thousandths in between the top three in this classification. Ronhaar, though, with a 25.771. He has a 28.969. The purple middle sector has been ripped away by Jarno Opmeer. That was Ronhaar now goes quickest with a 129.236. That sees Tomasz Gal on the bubble. Angelo D'Ortenzio inside the drop zone. Jarno Opmeer, though, stealing the purple middle sector away from his Dutch rival and counterpart. Will Opmeer jump out of Ronhaar? No, ninth fastest, but it was a purple middle sector all the same.
Indeed, and a big shame there for Freddie Rasmussen. Had an invalidation on his lap, so couldn't set anything on the board, so currently sits in that drop zone in 12th place. So, of course, he'll have another chance to go again, but you never want to put yourself in the situation where you have one lap and one lap only in a session. I wouldn't be surprised if he potentially fuels up a bit more and prepares himself to go for two flying laps if needed. But what a lap time there from Thomas Ronhaar. We know it's only Q2, but to be nearly 2 tenths ahead of the field is certainly, you know, something fantastic. So brilliant from Ronhaar to go quickest, but of course Butcher, Fassi, Burman, Pedreño all close together as well. I think yet again we're going to see a couple of surprises heading out of Q1. It's only nearly 2 tenths separating second down to ninth. So these next laps now are going to have to be, you know, nothing short of perfection for some drivers.
Yeah, well, into the pits comes Joris Krozen, and Opmeer also hopping in as well. And we're also seeing Thomas Ronhart enter the pit. Well, he will be entering the pit soon. Julian Klaffenbach coming in that instance. But it's Ronhart who's quickest at the moment. And the Dutchman currently sits at this stage on 53 points. He's currently sat 3 points behind Alfie Butcher. As I said, last season's race winner around this track went from pole to victory. But Thomas Ronhart etching in his first win of the season last time at Mexico. And that was after taking his second pole position, and a first lights to flag for him this campaign as well, as now more and more cars hustle into the box. In terms of former drivers and how they are, I suppose, pace setting throughout the course of PSGL history, I just want to give you some stats that I think are quite incredible. Obviously, Jarno Opmeer chasing that record-breaking 8th PSGL title. He's managed to amass already 26 wins, 53 podiums, 13 pole positions, and no one else is in the 20s. The only driver that comes close in terms of number of wins is Barry Burremand on 16. So we're talking 10 between them that separates both Burremand and Opmeer at the moment. So the Flying Dutchman stands alone in terms of number of wins accrued. But Opmeer and Burremand, if you followed league racing for a lengthy period of time, you will know that those two have had many dalliances together in fighting for championship crowns. And we spoke about Burremand in previous rounds. We've spoken to Barry Burremand too. Whilst, of course, the performances haven't necessarily been there this season in PSGL, we've obviously alluded numerous times that this campaign largely is about acquiring data, Nathan, when they look ahead to the F1 Sim Racing World Championship. And if you're Barry Burremand, it seems to be the way at Ferrari that they're just literally putting the building blocks in place for a successful F1 Sim Racing Championship quest, which will be coming up, we hope, in the next few months.
Yes, certainly. Of course, I don't think people sometimes realise how big of a part that league racing plays in preparation and, confidence building, talent building for the F1 Sim Racing season. So for many teams, these results here in PCF1, for example, the likes of Lucas Blakely, he's not scored any points so far this season, pretty much. But in the real sim racing season, he'll probably score quite a few. It doesn't really show the full picture of a driver. Of course, teams like Ferrari we've seen in the past and Williams tend to do a lot of testing here, try new strategies out. When we head to tracks like Las Vegas, which we all presume will be on the main calendar for the sim racing season. So it's all about testing, trying new things. And of course, these drivers here, not playing for a prize pool, they're mainly playing for pride. So there's always that, opportunity to try something different. And if it doesn't work out, you've not really lost much.
No, that's very true. Well, now the final laps are coming in at the close of Q2 now. And we've only got we're inside the final minute now. Let us know who's getting eliminated, folks. We really want to hear from you who you think is going to be bailing out of this session. At the moment, we have got 4 drivers that have not nestled in any laps at all here in Q2. Rasmussen being one of them, Crozen, Pookie and Blakely. So you've got 2 former F1 Sim Racing champions there that have not registered a single lap, not one iota, prior to this run now, to close out the final session before we enter Q3. And that's when we will obviously decide in amongst the 10 drivers that qualify from this. We'll obviously be fighting it out over pole position. At the moment, it is Thomas Ronhart who's quickest, though. He is on and out lap, will soon begin his fast run. Manley, though, bidding to enter a time, better than before. There are 2 personal bests in his corner off the back of the first 2 sectors, a 25.8 and a 29.0. A purple middle sector, though, from Joni Tormela, a 28.9. No one else really dallying in the 28s, as the brakes are locked on by Tom Manley this time at the close of this Q2 session. The timer is ticked to 0. We're into extra time, and he comes into the pits, and it looks like he's not happy. That looks like lap over, and qualifying could be over for Tom Manley as well. Over to you, Joni Tormela. Purple first sector ripped away by Tamas Gal as well. Tormela looking to go fastest, can't quite do it. Enough for 3rd fastest though. Not a bad visit for the young man, as now Pedreño, the Spaniard, looking to light things up, coming through the final bend, up through towards the line, and 3rd fastest, he'll rip it away from Tormela.
Indeed, and Alfie Butcher there going 2nd fastest, not improving but still staying in P2. as we have many more drivers looking to cross the line. Rasmussen is out, so no Q3 for Freddie Rasmussen. That's a big loss here for his championship campaign, as we do see there Ismail Fassi going up to third. Second place for Joris Krozen with a 3.64. Barry Burmond takes that second place away, and Jarno Otmir could be at risk of elimination.
He could well be. We're coming into the final corners now and only a few drivers left. Now we see the Kick Saubers move. Julian Klaffenbach goes second fastest. Thomas Ronha remains top after invalidating that last lap. Angelo D'Ortenzio goes sixth fastest. Where is the Flying Dutchman going to go? I can tell you that it was ninth fastest. Jarno Otmir stays in qualifying. He manages to rescue it. First fastest though from Thomas Ronha. Despite invalidating that last lap, the first one was enough by just over a tenth of a second. Julian Klaffenbach in second place. It is Kick Sauber 1 and 2 with Barry Burmand in third as well, ahead of Joris Krozen, who has been ultimately consistent so far. 2 sessions and twice inside the top 4. Ismail Fassi in fifth. Angelo D'Ortenzio, yet another impressive visit in qualifying, and this is yet another consecutive Q3 for Angelo D'Ortenzio. Alfie Butcher, Ruben Pedreño, Jarno Otmir, Joni Tormela also very impressive as well. We lose Istvan Pukki, Tamas Gal, Tom Manley, Freddie Rasmussen and Lucas Blakely. The bottom 2 not setting a single time in that session. Remarkable, Nathan.
Yeah, and I think once again we saw there how crucial that your final Q2 laps are. I mean, Joni Tormela on his first lap went third. He finished in 10th. He only finished 3 thousandths ahead of Istvan Pukki. So it just proves how close this track is. And of course, a big loss there, of course, losing both Freddie Rasmussen and Lucas Blakely due to invalidations. And this track, you're very close to the walls, but there's certainly many corners where you can, hop a curb too much or sometimes go into that runoff slightly and, of course, lose your lap time. So a big shame for those two. But from the invalidations that we've seen so far in Q1 and Q2, there's always that potential heading into the race that we could see penalties, because it's been quite common so far that we've seen drivers lose their laps due to corner cutting. So the race could certainly prove a little bit of a tricky beast for many of our drivers, but we do have cars headed out on track, and the first one being Thomas Ronha.
Yeah, first out, and he'll be hoping he'll be first in the timing screen as well to follow suit with the previous 2 qualifying sessions that we have seen. This is more the Thomas Ronha we are used to, but we'll wait and see how he fares. Obviously, the prior 2 sessions, great to get to this point, but ultimately you need to be on point to take pole here in PSGL PCF1. Many have tried, many have failed, some have succeeded. Who's going to succeed this time? Let us know in the live chat. We want to hear from you. But one thing is for sure, Nathan, Jarno Otmir with a huge opportunity here. With no Freddie Rasmussen moving through into Q3, that could be the championship gone when we go racing later.
Certainly, and Jarno needs to take this opportunity heavily now and get himself into that top 5, potentially go for pole position or a front row. Because if he doesn't, then, Freddie Rasmussen isn't going to be that far away. So this is a big moment here for Jarno Otmir to decide this championship around early here in round 13. But of course, Thomas Ronha is going to be a tricky driver to topple, looking for that pole position. Of course, a brilliant first lap in Q1 secured in the fastest time. In Q2, nobody could go with even 2 tenths of Thomas Ronha's time. So Q3, we expect him to go even quicker, but yet again we're seeing the likes of Pedreño, Krozen, Angelo D'Ortenzio all get themselves into near that top 5. That can sometimes cause upsets for the likes of Jarno Otmirs and Alfie Butchers, who we normally expect to see up at that, the top 5 of a qualifying session. Yeah,
I just want to say this: Joris Krozen, obviously registering the top speed out on track right now. That is starting to funnel in at higher speeds now, just under 200 miles an hour. Thomas Ronha coming straight into the pits. Now that's intriguing. Joris Krozen doing the same as well. Maybe just trying to get the lay of the land in the initial, but we are going to see a lap from Ruben Pedreño. So we'll move across and join Pedreño for all the action. Big thank you to all of you tuning in the live chat as well. We want to hear from you. What are your predictions for this qualifying session? Of course, we are now reducing the time allowance. We're inside the final 10 minutes already, and in fact, you can make that the final 9 in the coming seconds. Alfie Butcher looking to go out. Tormela doing the same. Burman, D'Ortenzio heading out as well, as we now await for business to pick up here. And I did have a little look, actually, whilst the drivers were making their way out on their outlaps, there seemed to be a bollard that was kicked up coming through towards the chicane, and I did see another piece come flying off somewhere. Now, it looked like an end plate, but as far as I could tell when I was looking at it, Thomas Ronhaar seemed to have all end plates on the front of his car, so I'm not even sure if he sustained damage or if that came from something else.
Yeah, I thought it was a bit of I couldn't quite tell. I think they've moved that bollard on purpose anyway, just because it can be a bit of a hindrance on a lap and can sometimes stop your lap from, being competitive and, with the way the game works, sometimes it will keep you damaged. But no, it did look like there was a front wing end plate gone for Thomas Ronhaar, but there was no visible damage at all on his car. So maybe someone just spawned an end plate from somewhere and threw it on the circuit, I don't know. But surprisingly, Rubens carried on that lap. He did invalidate on the lap, and I would have expected him to go into the pit lane, but he's decided to go out once again here and continue on. So I'm not sure if he's looking to set a competitive lap or maybe just get a bit more running here around circuit.
Well, we'll just wait and see what his sector times are as he mulls around again. Joni Tormler just starting his first fast run of our final qualifying session in Q3, and incidentally, it's a 27.0 from Ruben Pedreño inside the first sector. We'll see how this compares to Joni Tormler, who comes through. I'd imagine he should best this, I would have thought, and he certainly does, and it is a slow run from Pedreño. I can tell you that it's 1.3 seconds difference in that sector alone as Tormler flies through the chicane section. Now coming through the left-hander and down through the sort of slalom. Got a little kink in the curve going through turn 10, very high speed. Certainly not as much of a slalom in a sense that it is a tight weaving bend, but very flowing here at Vegas as he comes down through turn 12 and will very soon enter sector 3 and has already ignited a purple middle sector. No surprises, obviously becoming the first driver at quali speed to register a fast middle sector. The first sector time though has gone purple by the way of Julian Klaffenbach with a 25.745. As now we watch Tormler fly down through towards the final chicane section before he then hustles down Harmon Avenue and heading in towards turn 17, where he'll look to ferry in his first time of this Q3 session. 6 minutes and 26 to go. The evergreen Joni Tormler goes fastest with a 129.406, but certainly not the fastest on track that we're currently seeing, because Alfie Butcher has gone purple in the middle, though he's just had it ripped away by this man, Jarno Opmeer.
Indeed, we'll have to see what Butcher can do on his first lap here in Q3. Heading up to the line, it's a 4.32, slower there by 30 thousandths to Joni Tormler, as Angelo D'Ortenzio goes third. Klaffenbach has had an invalidation, but of course all eyes here on Jarno Opmeer as Burman goes into third with a 29.660. Then we have, I believe, Thomas Ronhaar. No, it's going to be Julian Klaffenbach without a lap time set on the board. So all eyes now on Jarno Opmeer, seventh currently up to the line. He goes fourth fastest to 29.6, which tells me, George, that is most likely on a used set of the soft tyres. But of course, now it's time to see what Thomas Ronhaar can do. He's been quickest in Q1 and Q2. Can he do the same in Q3?
Well, he's coming through the final corner. I can tell you that Joris Krozen has gone purple in the first two sectors. Ronhaar, though, goes fastest now immediately as we now wait for Ismail Fassi to come across the line. He doesn't set a lap time. Krozen, though, after going purple in the first two sectors, also invalidates. So Krozen, who had two purple sectors in the palm of his hand in sectors 1 and 2, has lost it all through a dalliance in sector 3, which ultimately brought him red throughout the lap and therefore wasn't able to lay down a lap time. They're getting caught out here by this Vegas circuit here, Nathan.
Yep, they certainly are. I mean, it's a track we hear a lot about from the drivers. Normally it's in terms of hates and their dislike for the track, and I think we're seeing why that is the case. It is such a difficult track to get right, and the lap times are so difficult to get perfection out of them, and Ronhaar has just been a level above everybody else so far. He was the only one in the 0.4s in Q1, the only driver in the 0.2s in Q2, and currently the only driver in the 0.1s here in Q3. It seems he can only get quicker, and it's not by a small margin either. But of course, the likes of Jarno Opmeer, Angelo D'Ortenzio and Barry Burman, I believe, are on a used set of tyres, and Tormler and Butcher, I'd expect, are on a new set, and it just shows the level that Thomas Ronhaar is at the moment. But of course, for the likes of Krozen, Fassi and Klaffenbach, who couldn't get a lap time on the board there, that's certainly going to put some pressure on them now, heading into the final part of Q3, because they've got one chance, and one chance only. For Krozen, he could have potentially had provisional pole position earlier.
Yeah, he could have, and I think he'll be kicking himself a little bit here as well. Obviously, he's going around again, but these sector times are certainly not holding a candle to what he had before. Crozen, no question, is going to be disappointed, but now as the cars ferry their way back into the pits, Thomas Ronhaar, our current first fastest driver, will look to get himself set for one final soiree as the timer will later tick to 0. 3 minutes and 20 just over on the clock. And we'll look to get this show on the road back again. We want to say a big thank you to all of you as well tuning in far and wide. Wherever you are in the world, we welcome you back to PSGL PCF1. Of course, brought to you and powered by Sim Racing Setups. Big thank you to them as well for their ever-long support. Be sure to check out PSGL as well on social media at Premier Sim GL, where you can find all the latest news concerning the league and also updates in terms of qualifying results or maybe even race results as well. So a big thank you to all for tuning in. Let's talk about predictions. I want you guys to get your predictions in the live chat. That's what it's there for. Nathan, where do you see this going?
I mean, I'm not going to be boring and say Thomas Ronhaar. I think that's the obvious one. So I'm going to go for something different. I'm going to go for Alfie Butcher. He seemed consistently quick so far. He's not set the timing screens alight, but he's always been there. So I think Alfie Butcher, if he can put a decent couple of sectors in, he could be the man for pole position. Of course, we've seen in the past how quick he can be in qualifying. So yeah, I'm going to go for Alfie Butcher for pole position.
Well, Joni Tormela not wasting any time, storming straight to the front looking for that clean air. I think he's obviously a little bit concerned as to traffic in front, but generally when you're around Vegas, there tends to be some value in the slipstream as well, Nathan. Who have we got here in the live chat? We got Klaffenbach for the win, says Foxpox. We have got George for pole. What else have we got here? Jarno pole, Gillen DNF. Well, he's done that already. Well, no, technically not DNF. He had technically a drive-through penalty for starting the race when he shouldn't have done, going off the line. But we were there to see it, Alex Gillen. Tormela for pole as well, says, yep, Silvius. Great to see Tormela getting obviously a vote of confidence as well. Klaffenbach I'm seeing as well from elsewhere. We've also got Jarno as well. What's your prediction for pole, George? I could not honestly tell you. Judging from what we've seen in prior sessions, Ronhaar looks like a good bet. George Morgan for pole and win. Thank you, Zahid. Really appreciate that. I cannot imagine it's going to happen. Thank you to Elijah Reeder as well. Julian for pole. Everyone's saying George for pole. I don't necessarily agree though, Nathan.
I mean, maybe we should put you into the qualifier session again and let you have a go at racing this time.
It's not going to end well, Nathan. It's not going to end well, but this could. We are now on our penultimate qualifying session, and the end of it now dawns upon us. Joni Tormela kicking us off here for the final laps here at Vegas. We arrive here at Nevada. There's now Joni Tormela, who sits second fastest and away from Thomas Ronhaar by nearly 2 3/4 of a tenth, or 2 3/4 of a second. He's now flying through the first sector. Ronhaar now beginning his fast run as well, the final fast run of this session. Barry Burman doing the same. And Alfie Butcher joins them as well. Otmir on an outlap, so is Angelo D'Ortenzio, Julian Klaffenbach, Joris Crozen, Ismail Fassi. As now we watch Joni Tormela making his way through turns 10 and turns 11 as well. Is there going to be any encouragement? Is there going to be any sectors lighting up here for Joni Tormela? At the moment, I'm seeing a personal best in the middle sector, but is it enough for provisional pole here, do you think, Nathan?
Well, it was on my screen, he was down by 37 thousandths here, so that's not good enough at all for Joni Tormela. Of course, he's already 3/10 away from Thomas Ronhaar, so he needs a mighty final sector here on his final lap to try and take provisional pole away, or at least try and keep a top position here in Q3. But of course, it's a difficult session this. Everybody's got pressure on them, and you've got to get your lap right. Let's see what Joni Tormela can do.
Well, it's green in several sectors for several drivers. Purple for Barry Burman in Sector 2. Joni Tormela can't go any higher than second fastest, but that might not be a problem. Barry Burman will be next. He personal bested in this first sector on this lap. It was a 28.9 to bring him to the purple dance in Sector 2. He's just lost it, though, to Jarno Otmir as Barry Burman goes second fastest. Now we await the Flying Dutchman and also Ruben Pedreño looking to go higher than 10th, goes fifth fastest for now. Elsewhere, Klaffenbach will soon be crossing the line. Ronhaar will stay first fastest. Purple inside the middle sector for Klaffenbach. As now we await more drivers. Alfie Butcher goes third fastest.
No spot.
Oh my goodness, Jarno's off. My goodness, Jarno Opmeer has spun in Q3. The championship leader is off. Here inside the final sector, high drama here in qualifying. Fassi goes third. Here for now, Julian Klaffenbach goes fastest here and now. And enter as well Barry Burmand, who remains third fastest at the same time. Ron Har now dropped to second. Joris Krozer with another special lap. He goes fifth fastest. And Angelo D'Ortenzio, fourth quickest, crossing the line. High drama here at Las Vegas at the close of Q3. It's Julian Klaffenbach who nets together a sensational pole position for the first time ever in PSGL PCF1.
What a lap there from Julian. We thought nobody could beat Thomas Ronhart, but one of his young proteges can. Julian Klaffenbach up to the top of the timings, and I did just about see what happened to Jarno Opmeer. From my view, it looks like when he hopped the curb, got onto the power, the rear got unstable, and unfortunately there was no saving the rear of that Red Bull, and unfortunately Jarno Opmeer starts 10th, and that now puts him only 2 positions away from Freddie Rasmussen, so that championship fight could certainly still be on for the Great Dane.
Well, it's all about the young blood coming through, isn't it, folks? Julian Klaffenbach lays down the hammer against his own teammate Thomas Ronhar. It's an all-kick Sauber front row ahead of the Las Vegas race here in PSGL PCF1 in Season 40, ahead of Barry Burmand, who will start on the second row alongside Italian Angelo D'Ortenzio, Joris Krozen, Ishmael Fassi, Alfie Butcher, Yoni Tormala, Ruben Pedreño, Jarno Opmeer, though, the talking point here, Nathan. An astonishing moment to see him bailed out of qualifying after spinning the car coming through the final sector, and he was fastest in Sector 2 as well.
Yes, certainly a big shame there for Opmeer, who could have easily been right at the top of the timings, and of course would have been looking to wrap that championship up quite quickly, but of course it means now he's got some more work to do heading into that race. We're going to get the next lobby set up ready for the race shortly, and then of course we can see the drivers in their actual cars and not the monstrosities that the likes of Torner and Freddie Rasmussen bring out on track.
Oh yes, they don't half bring out some good-looking cars. Nathan, I'm going to let you crack on and do the lobby. In the meantime, folks, I can bring you up to speed with what's going on in the world of PSGL PCF1. This is a reminder of the standings at the close of Mexico last time. Jarno Opmeer stands on 109 points. At the moment, 12 points ahead of Freddie Rasmussen, 6 points or more, and he becomes champion here tonight. Barry Burmand in third, 82 points against his name, 20 ahead of his own teammate Ishmael Fassi. Otis Lawrence in fifth. We have Alfie Butcher in sixth as well, with Thomas Ronhar in seventh. Ulas Azildrim in eighth place, ahead of Nicolas Longue and Alvaro Cariton as well. Pedreño down in 11th place. We also have Joris Krozen 12th, then Klaffenbach, Benham, Berejne, Hofland, then Tormala, Ido, Linton and Manley. So that is how the standings look at the moment. We move through to the teams, and it's 206 points. Already crowned champions are Red Bull, ahead of Ferrari, who are still stuck on 144, ahead of Alpine 2. We have Kick Sauber down in 4th place, McLaren in 5th, then Aston Martin 6th, Williams in 7th, VCarb in 8th place, Haas in 9th, Mercedes down in 10th. Remember, Williams can still technically jump Aston Martin at this point. It is miraculously close, in fact, all the way from P3 down to Ps 7 and 8 you could factor in. It's we could see some late twists before the end of even today's session. So over the next 2 rounds, there could be some major twists and turns in amongst the cars that we are going to be seeing. We'll just quickly remind you of the grid for this campaign. Obviously, these are subject to change throughout the course of the season, should drivers not be available for certain rounds, but this is how the rostrum, or certainly how the rosters look ahead of PCF1 action in Season 40. Otis Lawrence and Danny Berejne line up at Alpine, Duncan Hofland and Nicolas Longue at Aston Martin, Barry Burmand, Ishmael Fassi at Ferrari. We also have Rhys Linton and Joris Krozen in Haas. Kick Sauber aligned with Thomas Ronhar and Julian Klaffenbach after their heroic performance in that Q3 session. They'll be starting on the front row for this race as well. Alvaro Caraton and Ruben Pedreño in the Williams. We have Tom Manley, Ulas Azildrim in RB. Then Jarno Opmeer, Freddie Rasmussen at Red Bull, Istvan Pukki and Freddie Rasmussen in the Red Bull 2. We have Istvan Pukki, Lucas Blakely inside the Mercedes. Then we have Alfie Butcher, Jake Benham inside the McLaren. Here's a reminder of tonight's grid. We've got quite a few reserves stepping up here this evening. Josh Edo stepping in for Otis Lawrence, who's banned, will not be taking part in the Alpine alongside Danny Berejne. Duncan Hoffman and Xander Van Dyken in an Aston Martin. We have Ishmael Fassi still remaining alongside Barry Burman too, with Tamas Gal stepping up for Haas alongside Joris Krozen. Thomas Ronhaar and Julian Klaffenbach are as they are. Angelo D'Ortenzio in a Williams alongside Ruben Pedreño. Then we have Tom Manley and Joni Tormler aligned at RB. Then Jarno Opmeer and Freddie Rasmussen at Red Bull, with Istvan Pukki and Lucas Blakely in Mercedes. Philip Prejneda stepping in at McLaren. He'll be alongside Alfie Butcher, taking the spot of young Jake Benham. Here's the calendar as well, folks. This is where we've been and where we're going through the course of season 40. We've been to Brazil twice already this season. Texas for round 2, Britain in round 3, then Netherlands. We had our first break week on August the 20th, and then we returned to Suzuka. Then China, Belgium, Jeddah, and Qatar. We had another break week on October 1st. Bahrain was meant to be the date for round 10, but we went to Brazil instead. Then we went to Australia, then Mexico, which was our last round, and we are here now at Vegas for the penultimate round as we roll the dice ahead of our final round at Abu Dhabi for round 14 on Bonfire Night, November 5th, where we'll see the fireworks ignite once again as we bid to crown a champion once more. But it's going to be a furious fight, no doubt about that, folks. And of course, we want to say a big shout out to our proud partner, Sim Racing Setups. Get a hold of your pro setups, unlock extra performance with pro F1 25 car setups created by the drivers in PSGL. Esports and stable setups for every track, quali, race and wet setups, optimal race strategies, free meta setup updates created by drivers racing in PSGL with pro support and compatible with Xbox, PlayStation and PC. All setups just $49.99. Get them now from simracingsetup.com and use code PSGL for a 5% discount, everybody. So plenty there for you to digest. This is, of course, where we're going here tonight. Las Vegas, Nevada. We're going stateside once again, remaining on the Americas continent around a track that has now been part of PSGL, at least for 2 rounds that we have seen over the last 2 seasons. And 3.853 miles in total is the distance. That amounts to 6.201 kilometers, 17 turns in total. And Shanaka Clay and Alfie Butcher, former winners around this circuit. Alfie Butcher becoming the first driver to win it from lights to flag, taking pole and then later victory in season 38. We could see the same thing happen tonight in what would be a historic moment for Julian Klaffenbach, because not only if he converts this, well, not only has he converted a first pole position in PSGL PCF1, he could then turn around and land an incredible victory from lights to flag and aligning himself with Alfie Butcher too. But of course, we all know that the story coming into this is Jarno Opmeer starting on pole, well, not on pole position, but is starting as championship leader and is on pole position to win the championship, with Freddie Rasmussen eliminated in Q2. So plenty to dish out, folks, plenty of high-stakes drama. Overtaking is a very strong, a very wealthy commodity, I would say here. It definitely is full of opportunity around this Vegas Strip circuit. We are going to be seeing plenty of action. I have no doubt of that. I can already see Nathan very furiously ensuring that the grid is ready to go, folks. So, and don't worry, I've clicked spectate this time, so I will not be taking part. But incredible. Obviously, we want to hear from you folks as well. Get your predictions in the live chat. Get involved. We want to hear from you. Who do you think's taking pole position at this time? Well, who's going to take the victory this time around instead of pole position? We've already done that. That's over. But yeah, please get involved. Please be sure as well to leave a like and also subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on Twitch, please leave a follow. Stay up to date with when we go live as well here at PSGL. And also check out the TikTok as well. Social media at Premier Sim GL, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And you can get up to date as well on everything around PSGL, and also some really cool reels that tend to get posted at the same time. We thank the community also for theirs too. But tonight is what it's all about. Championship on the line. 6 points between Jarno Opmeer and Freddie Rasmussen. Is Jarno going to do it tonight, Nathan?
It's going to be close, but of course, you know what? I'm going to play devil's advocate and say no, because both Freddie and Jana have some brilliant pace. Of course, they just couldn't get their laps in when they needed to. They're both brilliant in the race, and of course, their strategies are always top-notch. So I think they'll both probably work their way up the grid together and finish within a couple of spots. So I think, yeah, no. If Jana was like top 5, I'd think, yeah, but they're too close together, and I don't think Freddie's really going to make that many mistakes in the race.
Well, let me just tell you this, folks. Now, Jana Watmir hasn't had a blissful record at Vegas in the past. I'll tell you this now. He achieved he managed to achieve 7 points back in season 36, which would be enough, obviously, to win the crown here tonight. But we've got to remember, he did not score a single point last year. There was no top 10 in our last season's campaign, season 38. And neither, when we look down at Freddie Rasmussen's record from last season, was there a decent performance at Vegas either. In fact, it was a retirement for Freddie last time out at Vegas. And by and large, if Rasmussen was to retire this time and Otmir finish inside the points, it would almost certainly lead to Otmir wrapping the title as long as he does amass the points necessary that exceeds 16 or 17 points, obviously, to account for the pole position. But it's a compelling situation. Obviously, just a reminder as to how the point system works here at PSGL. 16 points for a win, everybody. That is how we operate. And for second place, it's 12. For third place, it's 10. So it can ultimately go anywhere. I mean, it's a compelling story, a compelling final 2 rounds. I mean, obviously, I think for spectators' sake, we would like to see it done at Abu Dhabi. And for championship's sake, we like to see it go all the way. But for Freddie, I would say it by and large looks unlikely, Nathan.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you never know, do you, head into a round like this where, you've got championship battles on the line. You've got 2 very good drivers, 2 of probably the best on their day, fighting together to try and take a championship. But then you've got a few drivers in that top 10 who we don't often see there, who often don't stay there. So they'll also be fighting for their positions themselves. Like Julian Klaffenbach, he'll be fighting hard for that win. D'Ortenzio will be fighting hard for a top 5. You've got Pedreño, Tormola also thrown into the mix. So it's going to be a very interesting race with lots of drivers all fighting for their own, their own accolades. But of course, the main one is Jana and Freddie. They'll be working their way up the grid. And you've also got to think as well, with them both starting out a position, would they try something different on strategy maybe?
Well, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, strategy has been the story, I think, pretty much through this game cycle, with some, obviously, trying to go long, some going early on strategies. We've seen some really early calls for pit stops in previous rounds as well, so we'll have to keep our eyes peeled on that. It's 6 points that Jarno needs, everybody, to win this championship. 12 points between Jarno Watmir and Freddie Rasmussen as it stands. So that is the difference. It's 6 points that can make all the difference. So we'll wait and see. Bear in mind, yes, there is, of course, points going out for the fastest lap at the same time, so we could yet see a twist there as well. But it's going to be a compelling run, and we'll wait and see as to who is going to rise to the top. Will we see Jarno Watmir land the crucial crown, become the GOAT of PSGL, winning an 8th crown as we now go racing once again for the penultimate time in Season 40? They'll put pedal to the metal, and it's go! Go, 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 go! Great start for the Kick Saubers. I think Ronhard might have been slightly better, though, on the run down through towards Turn 1. No, Klaffenbach has taken it. The Kick Saubers 1 and 2 as they come through Turn 1 and Turn 2. This time, Barry Burman holding on to 3rd. Jarno Watmir already under attack from Ruben Pedreño further back as they storm down the straight leading down through towards Turn 5. Crozen getting into the mix. Pedreño looking to pass Watmir. Now remains late on the brakes as they come down into the braking zone. Watmir not getting a great start at all, has actually gone down to P12, and Josh Ito and Zander van Dijken are dropping through the field here, Nathan. A poor start from them.
Certainly, and I've noticed both Red Bulls are on different strategies. Jarno on the mediums, Freddie's on the hard tyres, and Freddie had a really difficult opening first couple of quarters, nearly ended up in the barriers fighting with Philip Brejneda as they make their way through in towards turn 11 and then onto the brakes in towards turn 12. Rasmussen for a moment was on the outside there of Blakely but couldn't quite make the move as Pookie gets past Kamashgal as they head side by side through turn 12. That was close indeed, and Pookie just about gets ahead of the Haas car, but of course right at the front a brilliant start for the Kick Sauber. It's Klaffenbach that leads Ronhard with Burman running off the top 3.
Yeah, obviously Klaffenbach now looking to become the second driver in a row to go from lights to flag and land a victory here at PSGL for the first time in PCF1. Great chance for him to do so. Thomas Ronhart, I'm sure, will be very useful in his quest to take that crown. That's unless Kick Sauber turn around, but there wouldn't be any reason to let Ronhart through. Surely if Ronhart wants to win this race, he'll have to do it on track, as now Klappenbach crosses the line for the first time in a racing instance to begin. Lap 2 takes the fastest lap as you'd expect. Barry Burman still locked down in third place now. The highest hard runner, Ismail Fassi, at the moment locked in 7th place. Obviously an issue for Otmir dropping outside down into P12. Well, he's gained places back, so he's back up into P10, but he can't afford to drop anything, especially on these medium tyres, Nathan.
No, certainly not. If anything, he should be ahead of most of those hard runners ahead of him. Of course, he started ahead of Pedreño, and realistically should be getting those moves done on Tormula and Fasci. So that could be a bit of a halt in Jarno's strategy here this evening. Of course, being behind some of those on that operative alternate strategy here around Las Vegas. So we'll have to see how he can work his way through that. But of course, others on the mediums further behind. Brezhnev, Ido and Van Dijken as well. Of course, they're all in the battle with those on the hard tyres. But I'd say give it 5 or 6 laps. That's when we'll see the hard tyres start to get a lot stronger. And that's when we could see Jarno Otmir potentially fall a bit of a victim to Manley and Pookie and possibly Tamas Gal.
Well, here comes Thomas Ronhart in the first of many overtakes we'll see down this straight. Kick Sauber opting for the swap. As we take a look at the possible strategies as well that we could expect to see, though, I'd imagine that will firmly be broken by the team's choice. Obviously, hard mediums, no question, is the option. But Ronhart now leads the race here on lap 2 of 25. As now they charge down through the final corner and across the line to begin lap 3 of 25. Thomas Ronhart this time taking the fastest lap of the race. 3.5 tenths now is the gap between Ronhart and Klappenbach. As now Burman comes through turn 3. And down the next straight will soon be down in 5th spot. But Barry Burman also waiting for his chance to pounce as Angelo D'Ortenzio now 6 tenths back, and Crozen down in 5th.
Of course, there's Freddie Rasmussen there looking for a possible opportunity, which launches Lucas Blakely into making a move ahead of Philip Brezhnev. They carry on side by side towards the end of that first sector, and Rasmussen waiting for something to happen for it to maybe go into his hands as Brezhnev there slightly off the circuit. Blakely's on that inside line in towards turn 9 and 10. They make their way through, both of them sliding around, but Rasmussen can't make any move at all unless he can go for a bit of a late lunge here on Lucas Blakely as they make their way into turn 12. No move can be made for him, and he stays down in 16th place, and showing here the struggles of overtaking on this F1 25 game. No moves made for Freddie Rasmussen in the opening lap, same for Jarno Otmir, but of course at the front the two Kick Saubers swapping around. Julian Klappenbach goes back into the lead ahead of Thomas Ronhart. Barry Burman still in 3rd place, of course Angelo D'Ortenzio in 4th. We know that Barry and Angelo are both in 2 different teams, but of course they are both part of Ferrari outside of PCF1, so I'm sure Angelo has got a little bit of confidence having one of his friendly teammates ahead of him. Yeah,
well, he's currently down in 4th place, Angelo D'Ortenzio, having a great race. Very much in correspondence with what we saw last time at Mexico and in rounds prior. Is now Freddie moves up into 15th ahead of Philip Brezhnev. That's the move he was waiting for. As we run on board now with the Great Dane coming through the first sector, now chasing after Lucas Blakely. And by extension, Tamas Gal in between the 2 Mercedes too, with Pookie in P12 chasing after Tom Manley. So quite a few moves made inside the first sector so far. More to come, no question. Otmir currently sitting pretty in behind Ruben Pedreño. Joni Tormula there as well, as now once again Blakely looks to go on to the attack, but just backs out of it ever so slightly and further up. Oh my goodness, Pookie just getting wrapped up with Tom Manley coming through the chicane. That could have ended in tears.
It certainly could have done. I think Pookie wanted to back out of the move, but by the time he did that, they were side by side at the apex, and Pookie there nearly taking himself and Manley out of the race. But of course, TK, the ill-ridden TK in the chat, saying that Jarno must finish 5th minimum to secure it tonight. So that's another look at the permutations for the championship. So Jarno Otmir needs to make 5 places, as once again the 2 Kick Saubers swap around at the front, and then of course the likes of Barry, Angelo, Joris, they're happy to sit where they are. They're in that DRS, they aren't worrying too much about that engine overheating because of the gaps, so they're in a nice, comfortable position. But of course, it all starts to erupt once, 1, the hard tyres start to get a little bit stronger, and 2, once they go into the pits and start to implement their race strategies.
Yeah, obviously a reminder, folks, the additional points only comes from pole position, not from fastest lap, as I mentioned earlier on. Apologies for that. Obviously, rules have since changed in league racing, very much aligned as well with real-life Formula One, that has also seen the expulsion of the fastest lap point. As now we watch as the cars stream down through towards turn 5 again this time. Ronhaar, Klappenbach, Burman to the top 3. Then comes Angelo D'Ortenzio with Joris Krozen just sitting pretty in behind them as well. A very nice happy balancer of these hard and medium runners. Really does mean we have a compelling tussle here and now, as now Rasmussen remains on the tail of Lucas Blakely. 2 former F1 sim racing world champions now set to duel here at Vegas.
Certainly, and we've seen many times in the last couple of laps that Rasmussen's looking to try and get the move ahead of Blakely, but Lucas always manages to cover off the inside or outside line wherever he needs to, and really showing that, you know, his previous championship drive and skill when it comes to defending a move. As we look further ahead though, Joni Tormela closing in on the back of Ismail Fassi. I don't think he'll be close enough to make a move, but he's certainly closing in as they make their way down towards turn 16. Of course, the 2 kicks swapping again. Of course, Borman still in that top 3, doing a perfect job for the Ferrari team. And looking further back as well, Tamas Gal on the rear of Istvan Pukki. He could also be looking for a late charge. Of course, we know Tamas struggles in the races on many occasions, so from 13th he'd been very happy to finish inside that top 10.
Yeah, coming down towards turn 1, Joni Tormela hovering all over the back of Ismail Fassi now, as they come through the first sector proper after crossing the line to begin lap 6 of 25. Josh Ido also looking to pounce at the same time, going wheel to wheel here with Philip Prejneda. No swaps there. Ido forced to hold on, but Prejneda down in 18th. I'm sure he's not out of this just yet. They stream down through towards the right-hander at the close of turn 5 and the close of the first sector, by extension 2. Angelo D'Ortenzio also getting nice and close to the back of Barry Burman. The top end of the field now starting to constrict somewhat, but Angelo really impressive again in yet another visit here in PSGL. Obviously part of the Ferrari team as a junior driver. Barry Burman, of course, signed to Ferrari as a full-time F1 sim racing talent. So, I mean, you've basically got 2 Kick Saubers and 2 Ferraris in the top 4 positions and occupying these places right now. Klappenbach and Ronhaar, I'd imagine, will probably utilise the swap again in a bid to defend the top 2 places here in the classification. Angelo D'Ortenzio looking to pounce on the back of Barry Burman as now Thomas Ronhaar takes over the race lead as they charge down through towards the next chicane. Tormela getting closer to the back of Fassi once again. They continue to swap here in this opening stint, and we will await the first pit stops to come in as well.
Yeah, certainly. Give it, I think, maybe lap 11, lap 12. We'll see some pit stops, might even see some even earlier than that for drivers looking to go for that undercut strategy, possibly next lap or lap 9 for those on the undercut on the medium tyres. Brilliant so far from Angelo D'Ortenzio. I've been on board with him on that last lap, and it just not succumbing to any pressure whatsoever. He's driving perfectly behind the back of Barry Burman, and then of course keeping a nice healthy gap ahead of Joris Krozen. Could be a really good finish on the cards here for Angelo D'Ortenzio in the Williams car, but of course, as we know, part of the Ferrari team. And I'd say now, probably around now, this is where we're going to see Ismail Fassi start to work his way closer to the back of Alfie Butcher. Of course, he's on the hard compound of tyre, and those mediums wear away a lot quicker than the hards do. So, give it time, Ismail Fassi will start to close in and possibly look for some moves of his own, and that's where Yarda Watmere could potentially be flawed, sitting in P10 with hard tyres all around him.
Yeah. Angelo D'Ortenzio, of course, really throwing his name up in lights after becoming the PSGL PCF2 champion. And now hovering all over the back of Barry Burman again, inside of 4/10. Is now starting to spring outwards just a little bit as Barry gets into the area of Julian Klappenbach. Obviously looking to put a stopper in this reign of supreme that Kick Sauber have been enjoying lately. Of course, harnessing the top 2 positions inside the classification in the opening stint. As the top 4 now cascade through, and Joris Krozen catching up with the group as well. Now we've seen the DRS broken as well for Josh Ido. He's behind his own teammate Danny Berejnay out beyond the second, but has now ferried it straight back in. So now we've got DRS open, or should we say every single driver within a second of the other in front, from P1 all the way down to P20. A really competitive race this has turned out to be so far. And no question, it's going to kick up a notch after the pit stops come into play, after the initial pit stop stints that we do see. But as they come down now in towards turn 5 once more, it's Ronhar and Clapham still disputing up at the front. Elsewhere, Tormala still on the tail of Ishmael Fassi, waiting to pounce Edo. Once again, losing traction, losing pace. And I'm wondering whether he's actually carrying a little bit of damage here.
Potentially could be a lot of time lost there for Julian Clapham-Bach. 8/10 now back to Thomas Ronhar. Of course, Boromund and Angelo D'Ortenzio were closing in very quickly there as they were heading through the mid part of Sector 2. But strategy-wise, I'm expecting to see some drivers look to start pitting around now. Maybe lap 9 at the earliest. I was engineering a driver actually here last season in the main season of PSGL, and we pitted a lap earlier than the others in 2 seconds on some of the drivers who pitted a lap or two later. So that undercut could certainly be a viable strategy. And now Barry Boromund could be on the charge, looking to close in on the back of Julian Clapham-Bach. But of course that DRS for Julian and that gap back to Thomas means Barry just has no way through at all on the back of Julian.
No, he just does not have the momentum, does he? Obviously, Clapham looked like a sitting duck. He's very nearly beyond a second, and now Barry comes in on the attack. Or does he? Looks like we're going to see our first pit stops, and we are. In comes now Julian Clapham-Bach, also Barry Burman, Angelo D'Ortenzio. So now in come the early stoppers now. They will remove those medium tyres and jump straight onto the hards to take on the second stint.
Indeed, and very early, as we said, they're going to go for that undercut. It works heavily here around Las Vegas, and Clapham-Bach, of course, starting to lose pace there to the back of Thomas. Whether that was coordinated or maybe he just had a little bit of overwhelmness there and lost his head for a moment. We'll, of course, see once he goes back out onto track here.
I tell you what, Nathan, sorry to interrupt you, but he was lucky not to lose a place to Barry Burman there on the exit of the pits. I have to tell you, Clapham-Bach, the way that he carried on down the straight, Barry Burman rejoined. It was literally neck and neck. Of course, the game seeing fit to give Clapham-Bach the placement out on track, but he was so close to losing that against Barry Burman's Ferrari. Not that it necessarily matters right now, because of course Barry will now have the benefits of DRS, whereas Clapham-Bach will not.
No, and that could certainly harm Clapham-Bach's race. Of course, started on pole, would look to be looking for a win here, as we do see Alfie Butcher making the move ahead of Joris Kroos, and of course that's nothing really in terms of the race. It's just those two having that DRS swap, and I presume we'll see both of those and also Thomas Ronhar in the pits very, very shortly. Of course, they don't want to lose time to Clapham-Bach and co, as we do see Ronhar to the inside. Will look to pull in. Butcher stays out. Kroos also opts to stay out. Of course, they've got DRS, so they can use that for the next lap, whereas Thomas Ronhar had no advantage staying out there, so he goes in. And we'll see whereabouts he comes out compared to Clapham-Bach, Boromund and D'Ortenzio.
Well, Ronhar obviously amassed a 2-second gap off the back of those pitting behind him. He'll now look to protect the place, but the question is, where is his teammate going to come out in all this? Ronhar will be rejoining. He'll, I'd imagine, be behind Clapham-Bach, or will he? Rejoins right into the heat of action, and very nicely played by Kick Sauber. It's Clapham-Bach who leads now, as he did at the start of the race. Ronhar very nearly making contact with the barrier, but Kick Sauber now in perfect position as now Barry Burman looks to launch a charge here on Thomas Ronhar. Finally, we're going to see them going wheel to wheel. It is front right to the side pod of the Ferrari, but Burman into P17, the Iranian Rapid, has finally broken the Kick Sauber streak, and in comes Angelo D'Ortenzio, but is not quite successful enough.
That could have been a brilliant move there for D'Ortenzio. Went to the inside of Ronhar, but couldn't quite get ahead as they made their way through the midpoint of the chicane. And Thomas Ronhar's on the attack again, in towards turn 12. Boromund defends to the inside line. Where can Thomas Ronhar go? Nowhere. Stays behind. That was a close call between both of those. It could have been a race ender if they both didn't judge that line correctly as they went through turn 11. Back then towards turn 16 we go. And let's see what Thomas Ronhar can do. So all over the rear of Barry Burman.
Well, Barry Burman breaking the chain, but for how much longer can he stomach the onslaught from the Dutchman, Thomas Ronhar? Right in the wheel tracks of the Ferraris, not going to pull the plug on the net P2 position that Barry Burman sits in. That's where we believe them to be so far. But Angelo D'Ortenzio, the audacity of the young man to make a call to pounce when he did. That is a 15-year-old up-and-coming class act looking to bring together a big result to the table here for Williams, and up the inside again from Ronha. Now in comes Hortensio, looking to ferry himself through and take full advantage of the situation. Wasn't able to do so. Klappenbach being allowed to just continue onwards here. Obviously not too worried about what's going on necessarily behind, because Ronha's got it covered. In comes now with Hortensio once more. 3 wide, coming in towards turn 5, and it's Thomas Ronha who slicks his way through up the inside of Barry Burman, but they're going to go wheel to wheel. Now through the right, well, for the left, the next sequence of bends. Kicksama back to net Ps 1 and 2, and they dethrone Barry Burman from a net P2 position.
That is what you call racing. Brilliant teamwork there from the two Kicksabers and Hortensio. He went for a move at least 3 times on that last lap. He even went for a move into the final corner on Thomas Ronha, but could never get the move completed and stayed behind. And even went for it on the outside of turn 1. The confidence that Angelo has is insane, but still slots back in P4 as we do see once again Ismail Fassi now taking the lead ahead of Alfie Butcher and Joris Kroesen, dropping down to 3rd place. I'm sure we'll see those two heading into the pits very, very shortly. Those medium tyres certainly now hurt him because of that tyre wear, but never mind, they stay out. They're looking just to stick with the hard runners with that DRS. As we continue back down towards the final couple of corners, Jarno Opmeer is in the pit lane. This is crucial for Jarno to get a good entry and a good exit. Yeah,
of course, bear in mind, wasn't necessarily featured at the very highest order on those medium tyres, but still remained within DRS of the front runners. He will drop places as a consequence of this, but will have better tyres for the end of the race. Our championship leader now returns on fresh, hard tyres, 3 lap fresher than Klappenbach, Burman and Hortensio, and 2 laps fresher than Thomas Ronha. It is Ismail Fassi who leads this race, currently on track, but our net leader as it stands is Thomas Ronha, with Klappenbach for company, with Burman also threatening every which way. But we'll await, obviously, everyone else to box inside the top 12. Before then, we see the racing really unfold. And we've only got 2 drivers, oh no, make that 3, that are still on 11-lap-old medium tyres.
Indeed, and I think Opmeer they're very happy that, you know, the 4 that were batting for that lead earlier on were having that battle, because he's already 3 seconds back. It could have been maybe 4 or 5 if we didn't see the battle between the Kicks and technically the 2 Ferraris as they was heading through on their opening laps on the hard tyres. So Opmeer with a 2.9 second gap, he'll easily get back within a second, but the question is how long it will take for him, as we do see Klappenbach once again retaking that net race lead ahead of Thomas Ronha. And Burman, I think after that battle, has decided to calm down, settle back for a little bit and let the battle continue on, as we do see a couple more cars heading into the pits, and it will be both Butcher and Kroesen on that medium tyre, went longer than pretty much everybody else. The question is, what can they do from their position, because they'll have such an offset, but such a gap back to Klappenbach and Ronha, etc.
Do you know what, Nathan? I think Jarno Opmeer has pulled a worldie here. I think in this instance, obviously he's boxed earlier than the likes of Alfie Butcher and Joris Kroesen, and by extension the others that weren't the likes of Klappenbach, Ronha, Burman and Angelo Hortensio. He's got faster laps than them, but at the same time, he's got better tyres than them, should we say younger tyres, faster tyres at this point that will come true towards the end of the race. But he's also taken the track position as well, Nathan, which is very key, certainly considering where he was during the opening stint.
Definitely, and this is what we see from Opmeer and Red Bull so many times. They work that strategy to perfection, and then just letting Jarno use that race pace that he has to move forward. Last time I spoke, it was 3.1 seconds a gap. About a minute and a half later, it's 2.1. He's absolutely flying on these hard tyres, and with a 3-lap offset to Angelo and Barry, etc., this is a really good position for Jarno to, you know, potentially get involved and make some moves a lot easier than what we would have saw when Barry was trying to make a move. They had similar tyres at the same age. Jarno has got a lot less wear on those hards, but of course, Alfie Butcher there, very crucial to keep within a second of Opmeer, because he could now follow Opmeer through along with Kroesen, and you know, this could really put a right battle to the back of Hortensio and Burman there, because they can't really work together as much as the 2 Kicks can, because they have 1 car with their DRS and 1 with. That makes it a lot easier to swap and trade.
Yeah, well, let's see where the rest of the race unfolds. We've got 3 more drivers coming in for stops. That includes Tom Manley, Tamas Gallis, Van Pookie. As a result now, Jarno Opmeer standing tall in a net P5 position, which would be enough to take the title, becoming a record-breaking 8-time PSGL champion. and it'll be 7th heaven in terms of PCF1 crowns as well. So a lot here for the Flying Dutchman to muster here at the close of the season, here in season 40 of PSGL, with one more round to go after this one when we head to Abu Dhabi. And of course, if Otmir does do the deed here, it will mean one race of celebration. And of course, many of these drivers then looking ahead to the F1 Sim Racing World Championship of 2026, as it will be after we saw the 2025 championship crowned with Jarno Otmir back in charge and becoming the first ever 3-time world champion, surpassing the record that was long held by Brendan Lee. Of course, he leveled it up seasons prior, becoming also a 2-time champion, as now Rasmussen looks to plunge in on Lucas Blakely, and the Dane now up into 4th.
Indeed, a look at the gap between Otmir and Hortensio, 1.4, it was down to 1.2 before they entered that DRS straight. This has been brilliant so far from Otmir. Of course, he's got Butcher and Frozen with him, but they're not looking to try and disrupt Jarno Otmir's charge to the front of those at the top of the field. Of course, Klavenbach leads ahead of Ronhard, Boromend and Hortensio. Then comes Otmir on the charge down towards turn 1, trying to bring that gap down.
Fastest lap.
Hortensio.
Fastest lap for Jarno Otmir, or at least it was, till Joris Krozen came along. So he is closing, Nathan, very quickly.
Yep, it certainly is, and look at that gap, it's going to come down to 1.2, it will go back up again because of DRS, but sector 2, turn 7 through towards turn 12, Otmir can gain at least half a second there and get himself within a second of Hortensio, and then it's charge on, as some would say, scenario 7.
Yeah, it's all to play for, but Otmir looking to close this championship out in style. Angelo Hortensio now P7 on track with Burraman registering P6. Klavenbach, your net race leader, now sitting in P4. There's 3 drivers remaining to box, and we're seeing those that started on the hards now moving on to fresh mediums. Manley, Pookie, Fassi, Tamas Gal, Yoni Tormler, Ruben Pedreño, now all on the medium compound of tyre. Manley and Pookie were the first to do so. Danny Berejde, who went extremely long on his medium tyres, now sitting on fresh hard tyres as of now, and will be very quick towards the end of the race, threatening for points paying positions. As now Ronhard once again swaps with Klavenbach. In comes Barry Burraman, also Angelo Hortensio looking to get closer. 2.5 tenths of a second separating the top 4 from a net standpoint. Very closely banded together, and Otmir now only a tenth or so away from breaking to within DRS, and he's done it now here, Nathan.
He certainly has. He's run out of battery, so he's going to drop back below a second again. But once we get into some of those corners, through turns 1 through to 4, he might gain all that time back that he needs. Heavy onto the brakes into turn 1 to bring that gap down. 7 tenths now between Otmir and Hortensio. He's found that 1 second gap that he needs to have that DRS to help push him through the race. But look at those on the mediums. Manley, Pookie, Fasci are all looking to push forward, and they could even disrupt Otmir themselves. Everybody will be topsy-turvy over each other here in this strategy, and Otmir's got to get some moves done soon. He's already all over the rear of Angelo Hortensio.
Yeah, he is. He's going to look to try and take on the young man as well, who has stepped in the Williams team here tonight, who has been ultimately impressive. Angelo Hortensio, a future star in the making, 15 years of age, not yet of age to race in the F1 Sim Racing World Championship, but much like Otis Lawrence did, when proving a point entering the PSGL PCF1 picture. Angelo Hortensio doing the same after winning the F2 Championship, and now under pressure from the Flying Dutchman and soon to be potentially a 7-time PCF1 champ. Jarno Otmir now plugged in to the back of Angelo Hortensio. Will he pull the plug here and now, the Flying Dutchman? He's not getting quite close enough, but the light is flashing on Angelo's car as they now storm down through towards the next chicane. He's going to prime his spots, but definitely throwing out those warning shots here is Jarno Otmir, and Angelo could come under fire.
He certainly could do, but Angelo actually had more battery than Otmir down that back straight, and that's what kept him in that P4 spot. This has been a brilliant job by Angelo Hortensio so far, keeping Otmir behind. Most drivers have succumbed to the pressure immediately with Jarno Otmir behind, but Angelo is still hoping to finish in that top 4, still looking to keep on the back of his teammates, Barry Burman technically. So of course both of them in Ferrari, but Angelo in the Williams here tonight as Otmir closes in, but turn 5 is not really an overtaken opportunity. Jarno's got to try and get a good exit through here, possibly in towards the chicane, but once again he's a little bit too far back, and the only issue there that Otmir potentially has is if he can't get past Angelo D'Ortenzio soon. Butcher might have to look to get on the attack because of the charge of Tom Manley behind.
Yeah, well, Otmir now still remains on the tail of Angelo D'Ortenzio. Rasmussen and Duncan Hoffland, the only two drivers that have yet to pit so far. So we'll await to see them come in. Obviously, this will see Rasmussen sink like a stone through the grid because, of course, he'll be on the youngest tyres of everybody else, but it's allowed the flood of cars now to catch up with the top two. It's 4.1 seconds now between Ron Hart and Hoffland. As now once again Otmir hovers all over the back of D'Ortenzio. This time Klappenbach and Ron Hart swap for the lead once again, as they have done so throughout the course of this race. The Flying Dutchman now hovering all over the back of Angelo D'Ortenzio, looks to the inside, throwing that warning shot once again. He is certainly like a coiled viper waiting to strike. Is the Dutchman in the Red Bull car, hunting down this young star in the making. As into the pits comes Freddie Rasmussen, Otmir's teammate, into the pits for a change of tyre. As now they come through on lap 18, we have got 7 laps of magic to bring you until the checkered flag. This is going to be one hellacious fight right to the bitter end.
Indeed, and a valiant drive so far from D'Ortenzio, but Jarno's gaining in as we head down towards turn 5, as we do see Presneder retire in the pit lane. No continuing in this race for Presneder, not been the best race from him, and decides to call it quits on lap 18 of 25. 19 still continue on, and Rasmussen has got to get on the charge. He's last of all, 19th place, but he's on a brand new set of medium tyres all the way to the end. We'll have to see what Rasmussen can do, but I think once again we're seeing here how difficult it is to make overtakes on this game, as Otmir's had really no chance to get ahead of Angelo D'Ortenzio, despite having way better tyres and way better pace when he was in that free air.
But he's going to have even better tyres, Nathan, because he is not forcing the issue on Angelo at all. He's not really moved a muscle. There's not a huge amount of load being applied here to Jarno Otmir's tyre compound. And, you know, obviously now as we see the two kick-sabbers move again, Otmir might have his chance now. He is plugged right into the back of Angelo D'Ortenzio. And even with the rear wing open on Angelo's car, Otmir ferries himself right to the rear. That looked to be his chance, but he might choose to do it now. They're coming down this next straight out of the boulevard and then entering down Harman Avenue. Jarno Otmir in a quest to up his title hopes. Up the inside, past Angelo D'Ortenzio goes the Flying Dutchman and cuts off Alfie Butcher, who primed himself for a move. Down the inside here of Angelo D'Ortenzio this time. Last season's winner moves into P5. Otmir into P4.
A brilliant move as well there from Butcher on the back of D'Ortenzio now. Here comes Joris Krozen on the back of D'Ortenzio to the inside, nearly the barriers there for Joris Krozen. Takes the inside line, has to brake later than the Williams as they head through turn 5. Who's going to come out ahead? It will be Joris Krozen, but Angelo has the inside line in towards the chicane. Can Angelo fight back? He's going to take the inside line, he's going to have to back out. And a brilliant move there for Joris Krozen. And next on the cards for Angelo will be Tom Manley and all those on the medium tyres behind looking to fly through. And if Angelo can be took down like that, what about Barry Burman? He's going to come to the pressure.
Those tyres are falling off, Nathan. They are falling off by the moment. Istvan Pukki and Tom Manley are starting to get closer here to Angelo D'Ortenzio, and Manley will be, as you so rightly said, the next one to strike. Now, what will they enter in? What kind of twist will this lead to? Manley having a look up the inside on the alternate strat and brushes past Angelo D'Ortenzio as if he wasn't even there. But don't forget, the DRS could still play a factor. Manley still defending extremely well as we charge down through towards the next apex at the end of this straight. But Angelo holding on, but Pukki, oh, he's locked onto his rear here, Nathan. There's no chance Angelo can hang on here.
No, certainly not. These tyres are just nowhere near for Angelo. He did a brilliant defence, and got to say hats off to him. And unfortunately, he's going to lose even more positions here. To the inside goes Istvan Pukki in the Mercedes. He's going to take the curb on the inside, gets the position, but Angelo tries to stick there, but he can't do so. Hasn't got the grip on the inside of turn 3. And Pukki takes P8. Next will be Ishmael Fassi, who's got a brilliant exit and flies past D'Ortenzio. And I think Barry here is lucky that he wasn't that car that was in 4th place at the time being, because Angelo's been absolutely ripped to pieces as Tamas Gal makes a move, goes into the top 10 in the Haas car. And then next it'll be Joni Tormala. What a shame for Angelo D'Ortenzio, and I think his pace isn't to blame, it's his strategy as Ruben Pedreño goes up the inside.
Yeah, of course, Pedreño looking to charge up as well. He's on the same strat as everybody else that are looking to ferry their way inside the top 10. So it's going to be one Williams against another. Pedreño looking to get past Joni Tormala. Though Tormala, with all his experience, looking to apply, should we say, the defensive against Pedreño, unable to do so though. Pedreño up into 12th, as now they get close once again. And of course Pedreño, I don't think, will think twice about making the move here on his teammate for this evening. Of course, they're not teammates in real life, because Angelo D'Ortenzio is a Ferrari junior. Generally speaking, of course, here is a wild card appearance, as now we see Istvan Pukki coming under pressure now from Ismail Fassi as they come down in towards the next chicane. It is still, though, Kickshaber in control. Ronha and Klaffenbach with Buremand in third. And once again, it's those old school protagonists. Otmir, Buremand, Ronha. As now Fassi storms around the outside of Istvan Pukki and into P8.
Of course, and as we know, top 5 is all that Jarno Otmir needs to take the championship. Freddie Rasmussen takes the fastest lap of the race, but he's down in P16. Points for him are looking very, very unlikely at the moment with 4 laps to go. And Otmir needs P5 or higher to secure that championship. And as it stands, he's got no pressure at all from Butcher and Crozen behind. If anything, he's putting the pressure on Barry Burman for a P3 as Ruben Pedreño makes the move ahead of Angelo D'Ortenzio. Angelo's going to try and hook it around up the inside in towards the chicane, but there's nothing he can do. He's not got the grip in that Williams. And Pedreño and Tormala go through.
Yeah, Tormala now moving up into 12th place. Angelo D'Ortenzio in free fall as it stands, and here comes Lucas Blakely for a piece of the pie. He's on much fresher tyres than Angelo right now. Angelo in free fall as he now slots in behind Danny Berejnay. Blakely now up into 13th, Berejnay 14th, D'Ortenzio down in 15th place. Jarno Otmir also all over the back of Barry Buremand as the two old guard of league racing now come together. The two Kicksabers now perform the swap once more. Here comes Jarno Otmir, who has not yet achieved a podium here in Las Vegas. One iota every time he visited here in PSGL. It has not once happened for him, but he could achieve it here tonight, and it could lead to that 8th PSGL title as they come through the final corner now to begin lap 22 of 25, and through turn 1 they go. Otmir primed here for a move on former title rival Barry Buremand.
Indeed, and further back there, very close to contact. There is contact between Tamas Gal and Istvan Pukki through in towards turn 3, and that's going to bring Lucas Blakely into the equation. P11 at the moment. He's on a charge on those newer medium tyres. He could be looking for a top 10 finish here in that Mercedes. Pukki looking for the move, goes to the inside of Tamas Gal. Tamas attempts to make the corner, they make contact again, and Blakely's going to close in. What a shame there for Tamas Gal. He comes to contact, and now Blakely and Pukki going to have a battle.
Yeah, I mean, Blakely could yet, well, I suppose, really pounce on that opportunity, has opted not to. Obviously, the two Mercedes pairing just trying to work together. They've had a really sorry season of Mercedes. Very little points scored, and most of them have come from Istvan Pukki, as now once again Pukki defends against his own teammate Lucas Blakely. Certainly no friends here, despite wearing the same colours here in this race. Freddie Rasmussen disposes of Ruben Pedreño, so he's now up into 14th as well. But of course, well outside the points, and will not be able to take the championship to the next round if he remains where he is right now. Here comes Jarno Otmir once again. A look up the inside on Barry Buremand, cannot pounce on the move just yet. The question is, though, Nathan, will Jarno bother attacking Barry here? He's in a championship winning position. He surely wouldn't put that at jeopardy.
Certainly not, but to be fair, we can see there Rasmussen's charging through the field. He's into 15th, looking to go for 14th. If he can jump up into 8th or 7th, that could take that title to the next round. So potentially, Jarno needs to make the move to cover off that potential charge of Rasmussen as Lucas Blakely into the top 10. Now fighting with his teammate Istvan Pukki, goes through. Does Lucas Blakely into 9th place? A brilliant move from him, but has a 2-second gap to Ishmael Fassi, so maybe that's over as Jarno Otmir goes for a stand.
Yeah, up the inside, but Barry's hit the wall. Barry Buremand into the wall now. Is there any damage to the Ferrari? Here comes Alfie Butcher around the outside and into 4th place. Jarno Otmir now up into 3rd as well, as a consequence of coming together with Barry Buremand. It didn't look like there was any malice in it. That is just how the corner works, but obviously, I mean, stewards do have their say on certain decisions, but I would say that was a consequence of side-by-side racing at the end of the day. And Buremand now in free fall as well, down into 6th as Joris Krozen moves into 5th, and a huge mishmash happening inside the bottom 10 as Berejnay moves up into 11th.
I mean, there was 4 of them going through in towards turn 11. There was 3 wide, one right behind looking to make a move. It was quite something there between these guys. P11 down to P15 as Rasmussen makes a move into 14th place. Further ahead though, we can see here Tom Manley on the back of Barry Berman was looking comfortably for a P3. He's been taken off that mantle and now could end up a little bit similar to what happened to Angelo D'Ortenzio if he's not careful, with the likes of Tom Manley and Ishmael Fassi looking to fly through and take those positions. But here goes Alfie Butcher.
Alfie Butcher around the outside of Jarno Opmeer now coming through turn 1. A lock up here from the Dutchman. But can he hold on? It's wheel to wheel through the first sector, and Butcher once again at a circuit he knows oh so well, becoming the first lights to flag winner. Now holds P3 and sits in behind the 2 Kicksaubers in a quest for back-to-back victories here at Las Vegas, Nevada.
Indeed, 2 laps to go. It looks comfortable for Opmeer, but things are starting to happen here. Situations are starting to come into play. Maybe it's not all safe for Jarno Opmeer because Crozen's got some brilliant pace in that Haas-car. Of course, we can see Freddie Rasmussen starting to make his way up potentially into a top 10 spot. It looks comfortable, but it could certainly change like the click of a finger here for Opmeer as they make their way through turn 11. Of course, Ronhaar leads ahead of Klaffenbach, but that battle between 3rd and 5th still needs to be solved as Joris all over the rear of Opmeer in towards turn 12.
Well, we're now on the penultimate lap of the race, folks. Next lap will be the decisive final one. Thomas Ronhaar bidding to become a race winner once again, and it will be for a second time this season if he does pull this off, as now they storm down this back straight through the boulevard. Next up will be Harmon Avenue on the escape of the chicane. Joris Crozen going for glory, is he? Not quite. He's going to wait in behind the Flying Dutchman, who's now bidding in a lap or so's time to lift the title aloft for a 7th occasion in PCF1, for an 8th occasion overall in PSGL. But Crozen looking to amass himself into 4th up the inside of Jarno Opmeer, wrestling with the Red Bull. Crozen trying to move his way through and does so.
A brilliant move there from the Haas car. Crozen into 4th place. Opmeer in 5th. Of course, if he stays there, he's got the title wrapped up unless there's anything here that Barry Berman can do to try and take that away. Of course, these two had a bit of contact at turn 5 a couple of laps to go. And now Berman has to go for a late charge to try and take it away from Jarno Opmeer. Jarno secures 5th, he's won it. If not, we go to round 14.
It has been some story. Of course, folks, we've made our way through the course of this championship, and it has been a roller coaster. Though the domination has been there by Red Bull, Opmeer in a quest to winning yet another championship. 2 wins have only been amassed. That came back at Qatar. He had also won at Spa-Francorchamps. That has been the only 2 locations where Opmeer has won this season. It won't happen here today, it doesn't look like. But what a drive here from the Kicksaubers. Klaffenbach has been stunning here, Nathan.
He certainly has been. And of course looking to close it on Ronhaar, but I don't think there's anything he can do, and Ronhaar looks to go 2 in 2. Of course, a brilliant drive by both the kicks, have both taken poles and wins in the last couple of rounds, and Ronhaar looks like he's going to take that one away.
He certainly will, but what a sterling drive from Kicksauber as a team. They've lit things up in qualifying, they lit things up in the race, and they take victory with Thomas Ronhaar, but making history, moving mountains. Jarno Opmeer, a record holder in F1 sim racing. Well, he becomes an all-time great in league racing as well. 8 titles in PSGL, record-breaking, history-making. 8 times champion of PSGL. Jarno Opmeer lands the killer blow. 5th place takes the title, 7 PCF1 crowns, and 1 PlayStation crown as well. The Flying Dutchman, the Dutch Dynamo, he's champion again in PSGL.
There we have it. I mean, people say Jarno's washed, people say he's not got the talent to continue on as he's had a few bad results here and there, but no matter what, it's that consistency and that strive for more. And he makes it 8. Nobody even near that. Of course, 1 title over on PS, 7 now here in PC. That is some effort. That is some accolade indeed. I don't think anybody will ever come close to taking that away from Opmeer. 8 titles. Who would have imagined that about 10 seasons ago?
Well, PSGL has always reigned as the league to usher in the big names. to the F1 sim racing space. It has been that way since season 27. But Jarno Opmeer has done the unthinkable. Long have we have held esteemed champions of the past. Opmeer has come and returned once more to lift that crucial title aloft. It doesn't look like we're going to get a results screen at all, which is a shame, obviously, but that doesn't matter in this case. We know who the winners are. It is, of course, Thomas Ronha and Julian Klappenbach, your 1 and 2. Jarno Opmeer, an 8 times champion of PSGL. What an extraordinary feat achieved. He achieved the minimal in that race. It could have been in doubt if Barry Burman at all throughout the final lap there, Nathan, chose for a move up the inside. It could have been totally different. But I say it again, 2 wins, 7 podiums, hardly the hallmark necessarily of championship quality, certainly based on what we've seen from Freddie Rasmussen winning 4 races this season. But this just goes to show how good he is. He extracts the maximum out of every race he can, even if it doesn't go his way. And that's why he's a champion.
Definitely. And I mean, in that race, it was looking a little bit less likely that he could take it away. Of course, starting 10th, of course, Rasmussen starting 14th. You was always going to think that Rasmussen had moved forward, but surprisingly, he didn't move that far. Only finished 12th in that one, and that just shows the importance of qualifying, and that's why Freddie couldn't continue it on to the final round, but also the importance of that race pace and that race IQ that Jarno Opmeer had. Of course, at one point you're thinking he's in a bit of a sticky situation. He's got hard tyres all around him. He's in a little bit of no man's land. Then all of a sudden they pull that strategy out to the bag, and Jarno Opmeer finds himself a podium. 3rd place for him, a brilliant result, and of course, a brilliant way for him to take that championship.
I can tell you, folks, that the gap is 18 points. Of course, the maximum points that can be scored now is 17 in total. So the championship's done. It's all over. Jarno Opmeer is crowned your champion. What a way to end a truly extraordinary race. I can tell you that the champ is here. The champ is here, everybody. Jarno Opmeer, for the first time, we have seen it in PSGL history, record-breaking 8 times PSGL champion here, Jarno. A feat that has not once been achieved anywhere else in this league in itself. You are the greatest of all time in league racing as well as F1 sim racing, Jarno. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Unfortunately, not the most interesting race. Just like most other people couldn't really overtake in the train. And then, yeah, obviously I tried going for it on 2 people, but then you run into the issue of, running out of battery to defend from whoever is behind. So, yeah, it's just rewarded to drive in a train, I guess. So, it's frustrating, but at the end of the day, happy to take the championship. So.
Well, listen, I actually said on the broadcast just now, it hasn't been necessarily your most winningest season where it comes down to winning a title. Obviously, Freddie has taken 4 wins this campaign, but I think what's crucial is the podium numbers, Jarno. You've taken 7 this season, more than any other driver. And we were sort of discussing that this is you extracting the maximum out of what looks to be should we say, probably a poor situation, really. So would you say that is ultimately the difference maker, especially when you're in a game like this that behaves the way it does?
Yeah, I mean, at this game you have to be quite consistent in qualifying. The past 3-4 races have not been great. But yeah, before that we were good in qualifying, and then obviously you can control the race a lot better. You saw that with Kick today. They were the fastest. They qualified 1-2, and then, yeah, because you cannot overtake whenever the car ahead of you has DRS. So yeah, the second car just has to leave an 8, 9, 10 gap, and then you're sorted for the 1-2 basically, unless number 3 is really daring and goes for a really aggressive move. But most often not, you just run out of battery, and then yeah, you just get swallowed up by whoever is behind you. So.
Well, I mean, you've set the benchmark now for F1 sim racing that we hope is going to be coming up now in the coming months. Both you and Freddie seem untouchable at the moment, based on what we're seeing in PSGL. Obviously, I appreciate that some teams might not be showing their whole hand ultimately for now, which is common. We've seen that season on season. But you must take a lot of positivity in knowing how well both you and Freddie have performed again this season.
Yeah, I mean, well, the past 4 races have not been not too strong from us. So
No, true.
yeah, we've got some work to do. That's for sure, and a lot of work because at the moment I very much doubt we will be able to win the championship if it goes like this. So we've got some time to find. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, I'm going to throw it to Nathan now. Nathan, you got a question?
Indeed, I have. I was trying to think of one there, George. Of course, Yaro, congratulations on your 8th Title 7 on PC. But of course, you've taken many championships here in PSGL before the F1 sim racing season begins. How much does winning a league racing title help your confidence heading into that main season?
Yeah, it doesn't say anything. I mean, in 23, I won, I think, every league there was, and didn't win the championship. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure we will be somewhere in the fight. But as I said before, we've got some work to do because, qualifying has not been good enough. So.
Yeah, well, I wanted to actually touch on quali as well, Nathan. Sorry, because obviously it's been a huge topic of discussion in the live chat as well, and there was some alarms going off, shall we say, Jarno, after what we saw at the end of Q3, or the obviously the spin that brought an end to your what looked to be a really stunning flying lap because you were purple inside the middle sector, if I'm correct. What happened going through the chicane?
This track is not a great representation of pace, to be honest. I mean, I was, I think, 4 tenths up. I think I needed 6 tenths for pole position, with still 2 corners to go. Perhaps would have not been enough for pole position, but then, 1 or 2 corners are a lottery. So, I was 4 tenths up to a used tire run, with 2 corners to go, 3 corners to go, and then you just hit the curb wrong, or the physics update at the wrong moment, or refresh at the wrong moment. Then it's just a little bit of a lottery. I think if we really want to look at pace, we've got to look at the previous races we did before this and the rest of the season, and then that's a better representation.
Yeah, well, there was definitely a lot to be happy about. Jarno, congratulations on winning that historic title. We wish you all the very best heading through to whatever's next. I'd imagine it'll be fully focused onto F1 sim racing now, but congratulations from all of us here at PSGL. Thank you. Thank you very much. Jarno Wotmer, everyone, champion of Season 40. And we're going to be bringing in now the rest of the interviews, because we're going to be bringing in our race winner. First and foremost, Thomas Ronhaar. From one Dutchman to another, we come to Thomas Ronhaar, victor of Las Vegas. 2 wins and in succession. Thomas, you must be thrilled.
Yeah, absolutely delighted to get that win. Didn't expect to win around there, because I think Jana mentioned as well, it's quite a lottery around there. Not even in the race, but in qualifying as well. Many people, I think, did mistakes on their laps, including myself on my final lap. I was, I think, 4 tenths down heading in towards the final sector, so it was game over for me. But really happy for the team, because Julian did a really, really good lap to put it on pole. And then the game plan was quite simple from there. I think you saw in the race how we managed to get the 1-2 today. Was quite a straightforward race. It was quite tricky to get past Barry, because obviously the undercut is still quite a lot around there. If you get towed along heading towards that really long straight, you can really gain a lot of lap time, because that was on old tires with probably a bit less battery. But managed to pull that off. Made a clean move around the outside of Barry in the slow section in sector 2, and then from there on we did the same as we did in stint 1, just controlled the pace up front, really happy for the team, and looking strong.
Yeah, I mean, it was a masterclass again for both you and Julian. Very impressed Julian as well, with it being his first pole in PCF1 as well. I mean, what a performance. Obviously, I'm not sure where Kicksabber are going with their lineup. Obviously, I can't imagine you can even divulge what the future is around the team. But it seems to me, from the outside looking in, that both you and Julian are working relatively well together.
Yeah, me and Julian have got along since he joined the team really, really well. Even as friends, we talk to each other quite often. We practice a lot together. And always trying to extract the most out of us as possible in practice. Sometimes we're in a good mood, sometimes it's not. Let's call it our day, and then we're in a bad mood. But yeah, we help each other to get up again, and I think show today that having such a strong team really helps in the races. And yeah, really happy with how things are going.
Yeah, I'm going to throw it to Nathan now. Got a question for us, Nathan?
I didn't know, George. I was trying to think of one again, and I couldn't think of one. But of course, Thomas, a brilliant job, of course, taking that win again. Of course, 2 in 2 now. Of course, just about missed out on pole position, but could have certainly been in your hands anyway. So these past couple of rounds have been really strong. Of course, heading into the next race, what are you looking to be doing? Are you looking to go for 3 for 3?
Well, that's the goal, obviously. Been really strong in the past, not only elite racing in Abu Dhabi, but also in esports, getting a few poles. I don't think I've won around it before, so maybe I have to change that in PSGL. Yeah, I think like I said, we're looking very strong as a team, and I think if we keep doing what we're doing now, then yeah, we can get into the fights for the wins every single race.
Yeah, and obviously what is important is obviously the run-up to F1 sim racing as well, Thomas. And you must take a lot of positivity in knowing that obviously the pace is definitely there, and you've got as good a chance as ever to obviously have be in the fight for the title.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the season. I think the last few races have definitely given not only myself but the team a really big confidence boost heading towards the season. And yeah, I can't wait for it to start. Been looking forward to it for months and months. It's nearly been, I think, 8 months or 7 months since the last race. So yeah, I want to get back to the real stuff. Yeah, like I said, I'm in a good mood at the moment. I think the team is in a really good shape, and yeah, like I said, if we keep doing what we're doing now, then it's going to be a fun time for us.
Well, I tell you what, we witnessed certainly a magnificent victory on your part, Thomas. We wish you all the very best looking ahead to Abu Dhabi as well for our final round, and see whether you can make it 3 in a row.
Thank you. I'll try my best. Cheers, guys.
Thank you. Thomas Ronhart, everybody, joining us here at PSGL once again after winning the Las Vegas race. We're going to bring in his teammate now, Julian Klaffenbach, who certainly caused a stir here this evening. It has been all about the young blood, because whilst, of course, Angelo D'Ortenzio went into free fall after the stint on his tyres came to a bitter end, we want to give credit to the young drivers, and credit also to Julian Klaffenbach, who achieved his first PSGL PCF1 pole position here tonight. Julian, you must be absolutely thrilled with your performance this evening.
I mean, yeah, obviously, it's been a very good race today, very good qualifying, and I was just happy to do the lap to finish it off and finally get my first pole. I think it should have happened way earlier, but I think just in the past few weeks, we're trying to clear out the mistakes we're doing at each race and get better and better step by step. And I think if we keep doing that, then things like these today happen. So yeah, it's just race and race, step by step, trying to get better, and yeah, that's what you get.
I love you saying that it could have happened earlier, because it could have happened at Mexico if some idiots hadn't not pressed spectate before joining the lobby. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, by the way, Julian, obviously. But yeah, incredible performance in quali, can I just say. You won lap pace, obviously there. That will give you a huge amount of confidence to go on from this. Obviously, we have got the final round coming up at Abu Dhabi, and it's a big points haul here for Kick Sauber as well. I mean, this is great for the building blocks of your career, surely.
I mean, obviously, yeah, it's going very good right now, but also have to say, like, the guys who are maybe not seen are doing such a good work, like behind the scenes, all the engineers and also the data analysts and all the guys who write code and I don't know what else, but yeah, it's been going very good so far, and obviously working together with Thomas also helps, as he's probably one of the fastest in this game, so practicing with the fastest is definitely a benefit as well. So yeah, it's just going very good right now.
Cracking stuff. I'm going to throw it to Nathan now. Nathan, you got one for us?
I do, definitely. Of course, Julian, I've seen you a lot now, not just here in F1, but over in PSGL series and in other leagues as well. Always on the podium, always fighting up towards the top. Of course, your results have, been brilliant compared to last game. I mean, they were good last game, but they're even better now. What has happened on F1 25 to make you so quick? Is it to do with the way you drive the game, or is it maybe a confidence boost from those constant good results?
I think it's basically both of it. I think as well one thing which plays a huge role is just just practice. You know, the more you practice, the more success you will have, and it's just if you put the effort in, and then races like these happen, it's just then it's exactly a good it's a good motivational boost. And I think in the end, it's, yeah, as I said, just practice, practice, practice. And I've done it maybe more efficiently this game than I done it last game. And yeah, we just need to keep going like that, and then yeah, it should be looking good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've been raving about the young blood. You know, at the end of the day, Julian, that is coming through, and obviously, we thought that after Otis rose and took part in the Championship F1 Sim Racing last season, that would probably be the last that we would see for a while. But how untrue was that? Obviously, you've come through now. We've also seen Angelo D'Ortenzio come through fresh after winning the F2 title. There seems to be a flurry now of furthermore young stars coming in, looking for F1 sim racing seats, and that could cause a bit of a stir. Do you think that you can expect some furious changes over the next few months concerning next season's F1 sim racing season?
I, to be honest, think that maybe for the upcoming season now, there might not be that many changes, but if you look at how other people are performing, including Angelo, obviously, I think he's also a bit too young for now. But I think the older guys definitely will have to try to keep their seat, because it will be difficult for them in the future, definitely.
Yeah, definitely seen some changes. One thing we can say though, Julian, you are a pole sitter in PSGL PCF1. Congratulations on taking that, and a brilliant P2 as well, and Kick Sauber 1-2 at the same time. Well done.
Thank you guys.
There we are. Julian Klappenbach, everybody, really making a statement here in PSGL. We also bring in another young man who likes to make a statement. Alfie Butcher returns once again for his second podium in a row at Vegas. Welcome back, Alfie, representing Papaya once again. And not a bad result when you consider, you know, Kick Sauber were pretty much in control of that race.
Yeah, like I said to the team after the race, I think we got the best out of the race there. Starting 7th, obviously, it's not where you want to start, but it's definitely not the worst. We worked quite well from that position. So yeah, I think in order to fight for the race wins, especially when there's 2 cars at the front, it's always going to be difficult starting from a bit further back. But yeah, I'm happy with the way the boys managed it and the result we got in the end.
Yeah, I mean, it was a terrific one for yourself. Obviously, a race you know well already after taking it from lights to flag last season. You've come back again and achieved another podium spot this time around. It's been kind of a season of growth for McLaren largely, and you yourself have been certainly the highest performing McLaren driver, and it's 3 podiums now on the stretch as well. You must take a lot of encouragement from your own performance this season.
Yeah, for sure. I think the race strides have always been pretty consistently good. We went for a bit of a tough patch in the middle of the season where we struggled a little bit, but it seems like we've come out at the other end of it in the last few races, and we've definitely got the pace to be fighting for the wins.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. I'm going to throw it over to Nathan now.
Indeed, of course. Welcome, Alfie. Great to see you back up near the top of things. Of course, you know, McLaren themselves as a team over in E-Series didn't have the best season. Here in F1, it's been a little bit up and down. So, you know, what are the key elements that you and the team have got to do to keep performing high? Because we've seen before in the past how well the team performed, and it's now looking again, isn't it, trying to build back up to, you know, what the team have achieved in the past with championships.
Yeah, I think the highs and lows of league race and in sim racing in general are quite normal. Obviously, our season in E-Series wasn't ideal, but I think we take that as a learning curve, and we implement that in the races that are coming up in the future in WR and PSGL. So yeah, we've got one more round, and we'll look to get another good result like today. Yeah,
obviously next up as well, Alfie, we head to Abu Dhabi, and of course a track that obviously I remember firmly as you taking a win at back in 2022, if I'm not mistaken, in your first ever championship run. Of course, in fact, it might be last season. I can't quite remember now, but a couple of seasons ago. But yeah, you went on to win at Abu Dhabi. Warm memories around this circuit. What do you make of it as we head there next?
Yeah, obviously I've got quite a good track record around Abu Dhabi in esports, and I think league racing not too bad as well. So yeah, I think obviously we'll look to finish the season out on a high and maybe make it the first win of the season, or yeah, hopefully finish on a high and just give us a bit more confidence going into the F1 esports season.
Well, 5 podiums in total, 3 on the spin, level with Frederick Rasmussen and Barry Burremand on number of podiums as well. And the only other driver that's higher is Jana Watmir on 7. So congratulations, Alfie. Wish you all the best as we head to Yas Marina.
Cheers, guys.
Nice one. There we are, everybody. Alfie Butcher has just concluded and signed off as a P3 sitter at the end of our race here at Vegas. But we have also crowned, most notably, our champion, and it is once again Jana Watmir for a 7th time in PEC F1 in succession, 8 times overall in PSGL history, becoming the most successful PSGL driver in history as well, and indeed that of league racing. I mean, it's an extraordinary feat, isn't it, Nathan?
It is, and I mean, we see so many times that drivers, have that ability where sometimes they are the fastest, sometimes they are quicker than Otmir, but it's that consistency that he has had for so many years. I mean, he started out back in 2018, 2019, taking titles and being right up at the top end of things, and no matter the struggles he goes through in, the main season or possibly in a PSGL season, he always comes out in a decent position, and that just shows that the level of skill and talent he has is probably never going to go away, and whenever he retires, he's probably going to retire after winning a championship or being right up there. He's got such good, skill, talent, pace, and it's, I think it's one of those where nobody's ever going to get close to him. You have your Ron Haas, your Lawrences, who are always up there, but Otmir seems to have every single attribute at such a high level.
Well, I just want to say this as well. Now, whilst, of course, it's only 2 wins for Jano so far this season, it's not the lowest that he has achieved. Remember when he won the title back in season 34? He only had 1 victory against his name for that one. So it's unbelievable how he can extract it from mere podiums and high-end points finishes. It is just that sheer consistency, isn't it, Nathan?
It is. It's a little bit on. I don't like to compare esports to real F1, but it's a little bit like what we see with Lewis Hamilton on the basis of he can sometimes never be there, but those results come in, and sometimes that can lead into a championship or a high position. It reminds me of 2024, I think, or 23, where he finished 2nd in the championship, despite not many good results. And that's a little bit like with Jana Watmir. No matter what he does, he still manages to find his way into a decent spot. And I think a key thing to mention is the strategies he's been under at Red Bull have been absolutely brilliantly.
Yeah.
You can start down in the bottom 10, sometimes in the bottom 5, and still come home in P5 or P4.
Unbelievable.
So I think that's another thing to mention, isn't it? The strategy.
Yeah, I mean, that's his game by and large, isn't it? The strategy sense and what you do with your tyres and when you pit. That is exactly what Jana Watmir is all about, folks. And what we're all about is bringing you great entertainment, and I hope we have done that as well for you, folks at home also. If you haven't done so already, and if you haven't, I'm shocked, I'm stunned. Please leave a like and also subscribe to this channel if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on Twitch as well, big hello to all of you watching on Twitch. Please be sure to leave a follow as well. And I tell you what, if you've enjoyed the commentary, and I hope you have done, you can check both myself and Nathan out as well. I'm going to kick things off with Nathan. Nathan, where can they find you?
Find me over on Twitter at RichieF1. Replace the R's with ones, R1CH1EF1. You can find me over on TikTok at NathanRichards1, and then, of course, Instagram at NathanRichards33. I'm still yet, George, to get all of my names the same on every platform.
It's a struggle. It's a struggle. You can also find me as well at George Morgan TV on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Any final comments before we sign off, Nathan?
I think, firstly, a big congratulations to Jana Watmir for taking his 8th title here in PSGL and really becoming the GOAT of F1 league racing and sim racing. And then, of course, a big thanks to everybody, as usual, in the chat. And, of course, George, a big thanks to yourself.
Big thank you to you, Nathan, for stepping in. And, of course, I want to wish get well soon to TK as well. Tom Knight, who is off with illness here this evening, but hopefully we'll have him back next season because he will not be with us for the finale. We will be having more from you, Nathan, next time around for Abu Dhabi. So do not forget to tune in. But at the close of play, when the dice was rolled here at Las Vegas, Nevada, it was lucky 7s, or in this case, many will say lucky 8s here for Jana Watmir, who has come out as an 8-time PSGL champion. Will there be more to follow? Who knows, quite firmly. We'll wait and see. Obviously, Abu Dhabi still to come. The season finale. We'll see you next Wednesday for more action at 7 o'clock UK time. But for all of us here, it's goodbye. PSGL is brought to you by Sim Racing Setups. Get your pro setups, unlock extra performance with the Pro F1 25 car setups created by the drivers in PSGL. Esports and stable setups for every track, quali, race and wet setups, optimal race strategies, free meta setup updates, as well as created by drivers racing in PSGL, pro support and compatible with Xbox, PlayStation and PC. All setups just $49.99. Get them from simracingsetup.com and use code PSGL for a 5% discount. See you on track.